Welcome everyone for Coffee Talk number I don't remember anymore. But we're back today with the lovely ZiggyD and
Thank you for
myself.
reviving the show for me, man.
You are welcome. Well, it's not just for you, but for today it is. Some of you guys might notice that we don't have Morris on today. I have talked to Morris, and he and I will probably have a coffee talk on Thursday. I think. I'm not entirely sure. Still in the talks with him, so we'll see. For today we have the lovely Ziggy, and it's going to be great. We're going to be talking Incursion and 3.3. We're gonna briefly just give a little prepared statement from our Tencent overlords. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. We are gonna like briefly just get it out of the way to begin with. But first,
The social credit score plus 100.
yes. I think I'm up to like a few thousand on the new, on the lovely new Nightbot feature. It's great.
You've been a very good boy.
Okay, Ziggy, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to, man? I've been trying to smash out videos since my New Zealand trip. It's been the most productive of all the trips I've done there so far because they had so much ready, and there's just like the sheer size of this patch in terms of skilled stuff, like really granular content. Yeah, like a lot of leagues are like, it could be a really big league or a really big expansion, but it's kind of like one big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Incursion and the Temple is like one big thing basically. But this league's like really granular, so there's like heaps and heaps of little stuff, but little stuff that's worth talking about, like skill redesigns and new skills and reworks of VAR mechanics and trap mechanics and all this different stuff kind of comes together to makes just like so much stuff. So yeah, I've been pretty busy working on that, man. Trying to make as many videos as possible. I probably won't get all of them done like from
Before?
what content I had available, but yeah. So, but it's good, you know. I think I like got the best of. I'll get the best of what I can out of it. So
That's nice.
pretty fun. Pretty
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. No, I've been seeing you smashing out a lot of videos. I watched most of them. I think they've been really good.
All of them.
I watched most of them. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the big elephant in the room then.
What have you been up?
What have I been up to?
What have you been up to? Yeah.
I've been playing like a lot of different games and just getting myself psyched up to 3.3. I wanted to get like real into 3. Or Flashback. I just couldn't. We had like a big start in Flashback where I know a lot of you guys probably saw the team wheelchair with Sizz and Havoc and I. And the practice was really fun, and I was really into that, and I was really looking forward to like a big, like 3-way, like showdown where everyone was like, we're competing, everyone's going for 100, but then Steel died, and Sizz wasn't supposed to have been on that team, so he was like a last minute addition, so he had a team, so it only was 2 teams, and then Steel died, and it was like a 1-way race. And I just kind of quit. Yeah,
It's so exciting when we do have those races where it does come together and there are like 2 big teams or groups of people, and there's actually like a real hot competition. It feels like it's been a while since we've had that, right? We haven't really,
it has. That's why I was so excited.
We've had previous races where I'm getting on there and I'm watching other people's streams for it. And I'm like, guys, I'm stopping my stream now to go watch this because it's getting hot over there. But yeah, it's been a while since we've had that. It's hard to get.
Like we've seen people die like in races before, so I was a little sad to see them not being like up for the challenge of doing the re-level, because I died as well later on, but then they hadn't been pushing up to that point, so we were so far ahead that even though I died, I re-rolled and then I died to a DC, so that was really unfortunate. That just kind of like I just didn't have any interest after that. Ouch. So yeah.
And I think that's it. Just like, it's not always going to work out, right?
No.
It could be a great race. Like Flashback's great fun, but you know, some people have some shitty deaths and they're like, I'm kind of done, or you know, it doesn't work out with some people's schedules and all that sort of stuff. It really has to be like the stars align for it to come together, that we really get that hot competition between like a couple teams duking it out. It's so good when it happens, though.
Yeah. So I've decided that future races from now on, it's gonna be solely SSF focused.
That seems to
For
be the way
me.
it's moving. Like,
Yeah.
even Ziz has said he's moving over to like pure SSF or something for League
Yeah.
starts now.
I would imagine Sis coming back to a trade league for like a boss kill, because I'm thinking the same, at least from my point of view. Like if we have something big like Uber Elder again, I could see myself going back to trade league, because it's really tough. If you saw the Uber Elder from this league, right? Getting to just spawn the Uber Elder was such a hassle, right? So doing that on SSF is not that fun, and you're very limited in terms of like what are the options you have for builds. So for trade league and an Uber kill again, some sort in whenever that comes. I hope it comes.
Is that good for competition though? Like an Uber Elder kill where like a big part of the difficulty is in just like getting him to spawn right?
No.
Like I don't know if that favors a good competitive scene.
Well, it's an ARPG, right? We're still playing an ARPG, and there has to be like sort of a progression to the end content, because otherwise, I would think that you would have the best players figuring a way to skip every single step and just be there in like half a day, and then cheese it somehow with the support, and then that's kind of not good either.
That's like racing though. Just generally speaking.
Well, I
like
think
boss kill event or something.
But do you think that? Because I would say I equate Uber Elder kills as another step of progression, like a progression system, right? Just as a leveling system and item progression. If you allow everyone to just skip steps within that, then why not do it within leveling as well? And why not just do? Because you could do that on like every single kind of pillar, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. I guess like maybe just the problem might be like the appeal of watching competitive team stuff has worn off for people now that the game is very well understood.
Oh, but I look at this not for the competitive teams. I look at it as a player going through content and having like something that takes work to get to, just like my item. Because one of the things with Pirandis, and I know Morris will probably agree, is that a lot of the chase uniques felt like they were taking away from you, because they were no longer a chase. They were no longer like a process you had to go through over like weeks to get to.
This is gonna be a fun podcast, Dave. Because yes, because
I enjoyed Pirandis.
That was so worth it though. Like, yeah, we lost some chase uniques, but I feel like we all got so much more out of it. We all played so many more builds in Pirandis than we did in leagues prior. Mm-hmm. This is gonna be a fun podcast.
Okay. Oh, that we can. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since we don't really have this as a, I think this can lead into something good. But so you think that I think with that actually, if we're talking about the chase uniques, isn't that just because we also know all the different builds? Like we've already discovered all that, right? So there is having them just more available to you, because there's such a huge amount of uniques anyways, and you're already like at this point when Pirandis came out, we had already kind of like gone through all the uniques. So the chase uniques were not like it was more like just opening that up as well.
Yeah, it was just like, now I actually get to play it, all these things on my own. It's less about the exploration of it. Yeah, at that point, that was definitely true. Nowadays, I feel like that's not the case, though. Nowadays, like, I feel like there's so many unexplored builds and, like, shapes of the meta yet. And, like, the last few leagues, we've had, like, big Ascendancy reworks and stuff like that. I feel like even that still hasn't had enough time to be fully explored. And now we're getting, like, massive changes this expansion with new skills and everything like that. So I feel like the player base is behind in discovering stuff right now to where the devs are at. They're like a couple steps ahead of us, I think, in terms of stuff for us to figure out.
I actually think you're right.
I like that.
I know that there are always the memes with the 1,000-hour QA team and all that, right? Like, they don't know what they're doing, and we know more than them. I honestly think from really going into the nitty-gritty of everything that is PoE, and whenever you start like exploring venues and you go out like on these tangents of like what a build can do and how much you can like exploit a certain aspect, and you see exactly where the limitations are and exactly how the numbers like line up to be just below what would be broken. You start seeing that it's actually very fine tuned even into all the builds that we have. That's been the case. There are like a few places where things get a little crazy in terms of balance.
Yeah, there's certainly stuff that they don't foresee. It's like not even possible for them to foresee some of the weird
for
shit
sure.
they come up with as a player base.
But I've been recently re-enlightened to how good the game is on a balance standpoint when you look at that.
I look at it more from like a diversity standpoint. The game is like, I don't know, like I hear this complaint every now and then, they're like, oh, there's only like a couple builds to play, and or like something similar to that sort of sentiment. And I'm like, I think back to, you know, just everyone playing Spectral Throw, or there being like 3 builds that people played, which was like pretty dominant throughout PoE's history, that there was only several builds, and now there's just so much.
But do you think that's because people figured out like different ways of building, or do you think it's because there's just more like a more diverse set of items in the game? Because I feel like there is, even back in the day, there is a lot of builds that weren't being discovered or showcased.
I guess that's always going to be the case, but I don't know, I think it's a combination. Like part of it is definitely just because there's more Path of Exile now, which opens up more possibilities. But at the same time, if you have degenerate dominating builds, then that doesn't even matter. Like that doesn't have an impact. For that to be able to be allowed to shine, there has to be a reasonable level of balance, which we seem to have now, to the point where we're getting a lot more builds to play that feel like they're, you know, there's like a floor that you have to reach before people feel like this is okay to play, unless they're like the ultimate, you know, Timmy's just playing interesting stuff.
But just to get it out of the way though, right? Because now we got sidetracked a little here. I want to just because I know everyone just kind of wants to hear. So Tencent, let's just get it out of the way so we can move on to the fun Incursion stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's been discussed to death by everyone now, so we'll probably just be retreading ground. But you're right, we probably need to get it out of the way anyway. So, kick us off?
Okay, so Tencent recently acquired an 80% stake in Grinding Gear Games. Tencent is a company that probably a lot of people don't know. It's a Chinese company that acquires just different gaming companies all over the world, pretty much. I'm not really sure what you call their type of company. Do you know?
I guess just like they don't. At a certain point, they just become a mega conglomerate.
Yeah, an investing holding company. Right, so they just invest in companies around the world. And they actually own Riot Games. They have like a 46% stake in Epic Games, so it's like League of Legends, Fortnite, Paragon, and they have Clash of Clans. That's a mobile game. I don't really know about it. Honestly, I actually didn't know that Tencent was even a company until, well, except for what I've heard, like that they've been working together with Tencent. I just thought it was like a Chinese publisher. Well,
yeah, well, they do that as well.
So that's all I thought it was. So I didn't even know that they had, like, they pretty much owned the entire gaming world at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what the history for them is, but like possibly they get kickstarted by the fact that in order for you to publish a game in China, you have to go through a Chinese publisher. I think it is. I was talking to Chris about this and kind of how that works. But yeah, like an outside, you know, like a US firm or whatever can't just publish a game in China. They have to go through a Chinese publisher. So they do a lot of publishing over there as well as like even kind of making their own weird things of other games and stuff. I don't know. They got like some PUBG clone or something apparently. I don't know, but yeah, it's a whole thing. This is so much. They own like social media stuff and like voice chats and Discord, I think, actually, what we're talking about right now.
And even 5% in Blizzard Activision, I believe. They're like everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
So so do you think it's gonna be like, where are you on like the what is the effect that this is gonna have on the player? I think that's like the most important thing to take away from this.
So I think like there's like, I guess, a couple areas to this whole thing. The first area is what good or bad things are going to happen to Path of Exile specifically, just the game. And I think like not much to good things in terms of what the player experiences out of this happening. Like directly, probably it's going to be difficult to trace any sort of major changes to Tencent's acquisition of the company. But long term, obviously, it like funds some rather big plans that Chris and ZiggyD have for 4.0 and beyond, like big fucking plans. And obviously like securing, you know, more staff and stuff to be able to do that and work on that faster. So that's the sort of stuff that we indirectly notice, and that seems to be the idea there. In terms of like negative changes, and again, this has been discussed to death, but all of the other like companies that have been doing well that they've invested in haven't had any changes, that like negative changes that you could really attribute to Tencent's acquisition. Like we've seen this time and time again with other big games. It's not like at the moment they acquired a majority share of League of Legends, they drove it into the ground with like really shitty monetization stuff. It was like nothing really changed in terms of that. I say that though with, I'm not like saying that nothing could happen though, because in the post Chris made, he was like, you know, they would never have any say in how we're kind of going to develop the game in the future. But in reality, they certainly could. Like realistically speaking, if for several expansions Path of Exile went terribly, like ZiggyD kind of just screwed up multiple times in a row and the game started being driven to the ground, Tencent would be like, holy shit, our investment's getting wasted. And they'd be like, yeah, we're gonna like get some people involved and get you guys back in the right track. Would that even necessarily be a negative thing if suddenly ZiggyD became incompetent and started driving the game into the ground? It would maybe be a negative thing for like the core community that wanted the game to be in a certain way. If it was like the game wasn't being successful to a more widespread audience. So the worst that I could see happening is for some reason Path of Exile does poorly, and then Tencent gets involved and changes happen to the game that takes it away from the original like I'm talking like the people who originally got into Path of Exile because it's a gritty Diablo 2-like game, and it loses sight of that. So that's like the worst thing I could see happening. But based on how like Path of Exile's been doing lately, I don't really see that to be very likely, because the whole reason they invested in the company, I think, is because it's been doing fucking well. Like really well. Like crazy well.
Like they're good at diversifying their portfolio, one could say, right? They see opportunity everywhere, right? So now they're seeing opportunity RPG genre, and they are stepping in early on, right, to get ahead. There's one other point, I think. So I think on the whole, what's gonna go like happen to the day-to-day, the business side, and the development of PoE, I think I pretty much agree with you on this. I think I hold the same sentiments. I've been looking into like what's been going on with other Tencent acquisitions, and it's always seemed to be the same story more or less. That they let like the international scene or the US Western companies kind of do their own thing and not intervene. Also from a Chinese or from what I understand, their mentality as a Chinese company is they're not very bombastic. They're very quiet. They wanna not stir up a mess anywhere to draw attention to themselves, because they don't like to be seen as like the Chinese overlord coming in and overtaking the world. They're just they want to be the silent investor just sitting back and nobody really knows them. That seems to be the case to me. Yeah, it does. It
makes sense. And it makes sense for them to not interfere with the operations of the games, right? That if they're investing in companies that are doing well, then it makes sense for them to not interfere, and that seems to be their business model. Yeah.
At least that has been my perception. But the other thing I wanted to say, so in terms of players buying supporter packs, and because I think in the past we wanted to support GGG with like supporting the company and the growth of their company to be like the next, I think this is, at least that's why I wanted to do it, to become like the next Blizzard. Right? They're their own thing, their own entity. They're not owned by anyone else. And we're creating this together as a community. And now, at least on a personal note, I definitely don't think that I don't feel the same sort of commitment or attachment to GGG anymore. So I'm not really, whenever I would go out and buy a supporter pack, I don't feel that I am supporting I am supporting the growth and the continuation of GGG for the sake of Path of Exile, the game, but I'm not really a part of building, you know, this next big company, this next big thing in the same way.
I get like the feelsy sides of that. Absolutely,
Yeah.
this has an impact on the feeling side of this. But the reality of it, though, is still that it still has just as much impact as it always had, because it's still their primary monetization. And for the game to continue being developed and growing, they still need to be earning money through their primary monetization.
Though the philosophy of the game, like the company as a whole, the philosophy of Chris is no longer right, he doesn't have the say as he did before, right? If he wants to go in a completely different direction, they can't anymore in the same sense. Can they? Because like if they wanted to go with a different monetization model or something, or whatever it is they want to do that is in the spirit of them, or right on the money side of things, they are beholden to Tencent now, right?
So that's kind of, I guess, like they couldn't make decisions that would drive the business into the ground, or that would be like super risky, like maybe making a second game that was a big risky proposal. Like, you have no idea if it's working, it's going to cost a lot of money. I would kind of argue that nothing really changes there, though, because they already had like shareholders and investors. It was just like more private, like, you know, the information was publicly available because it was in New Zealand. But they already had investors, and it's also like Chris is one of three as well. Like Eric, Chris, and Jonathan had like split ownership of the rest of the shares that weren't held through other investors. So like, I don't know if that really changes that much. But I mean, feasibly, if they like had some crazy idea they wanted to try, then maybe Tencent would be like, we think that's too risky. Yeah. Possibly.
Yeah. Okay. Right, at least for the last thing I would say, because I know a lot of people probably share the feeling side of things, is I would say in terms of supporting GGG, like you're still supporting GGG because like the majority of their revenue that has to come into the company is still from the microtransactions, right? So you're supporting the day-to-day. You're not trying to make the game make it anymore. You're not trying to make it so that they can put food on the table and all these kind of things anymore. Like we're kind of past that. We've been past that for a while. And so I would just say, like, look at their products like anything else in the world. If they put out quality content, buy it. That's what I'm gonna do.
Here's my kind of along those lines. Here's my like advice / I don't know, opinion, I guess. If you were kind of only buying the supporter packs because you're like, this is bad value, but I want to support GGG, then you probably shouldn't have been buying them anyway. It's not me to tell you what. Not my place to tell you what to do with your money, but along with the lines of vote with your wallet, you probably should have been, you know, voting with your wallet and saying this is not good value. I want to support you, but make it better value. So if you feel like now the supporter packs are bad value and you're not being swayed as much by the emotional side of things, then don't buy them for a while, and then they'll probably become better value. That's like the worst I see happening out of this, is like that people stop buying the supporter packs because they're like, no, I need to go to Tencent, and then they just make them better value. They're making an actual product worth buying. Personally, I feel like that $30 to $60 range ones, I feel like in the context of cosmetic microtransactions, which are overpriced anyway, but I felt like they were good value personally, and I was buying them for that reason. So, like, hopefully you guys do the same moving forwards. I feel like that makes the most sense.
Okay. I think that wraps up Tencent for now. Moving on, let's go back to Incursion. So the actual Incursion League. You've been playing a lot of Incursion, right, Ziggy? More than most.
More than most. Yeah. More than most.
So give me your initial thoughts.
That's a very open-ended question. What are my initial thoughts? So I feel like this is a pretty interesting direction to go in terms of challenge leagues. Like, this is pretty big in the sense that this is like big out of the regular game content that you can do in terms of every zone we have an incursion, which is, you know, roughly the size of a breach, maybe feels like a little bit larger and more significant, I guess. But then the temple, which is a pretty decent whack of content. And not only that, this is not just like, you know, doing that theory map at end game. This is throughout the game. You can do this feasibly like once every act or once every act and a half or so. So it feels big. But the kind of when it comes to making something like that, you have to make it worth doing as well. And the bigger it is, the more worth doing it has to be. So I expect we're going to be seeing some pretty big kind of levels of reward and hype around doing this content for the average player. I don't know. I guess that's kind of like my first impressions and starting thoughts here. Like, some people are not going to do it just because it's like they just want to play the regular game, and some people are always skipping stuff while leveling and so on and so forth. But it seems like it's going to be hella worth doing, and unless, you know, something drastic changes, potentially we're talking you're halfway through Act 2, you do your first temple run, and you come out of there with like 10 to 15 chaos worth of stuff, like quality gems and currency.
Well, 10 to 20 chaos worth of what used to be, right? Because like if the time invested is that amount, you're not going to be able to, like, if you're not quick with like selling all this off, then people will get on it and like figure out, oh shit, there's so much stuff in there, and then obviously it just it's not worth it much. There's
going to be some crazy opportunities for like profiting at the start of the league before things settle down, but I expect we're going to see kind of another situation in terms of there's going to be like a new a new way of understanding what resources we have and their value. As in, we're probably going to see some interesting sorts of effects of inflation here, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It means we all have more things to play with, maybe. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it shakes out. I also just kind of like the idea that if you want to, you can engage in this in such a way that you basically do all of your leveling through this content, and then you just smash through the rest of the game, which is kind of interesting. It's like the Path of Exile way of doing like an adventure mode.
Yeah, I could see that.
Leveling route.
I could see that. I do think that you're probably, from looking back at previous leagues, you're probably better off just rushing ahead and then doing that content a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know about this one. I think I think normally that's the case, right? Normally I'd agree. Like these things could be very rewarding, and that's not the case. But I think for people's first character in this league, it's going to be worth doing them while leveling.
I think you might. I think for the average player, you're probably right, because I know, like from a racer, like I know all the ins and outs, and I'm not even the best. Like whenever you know everything and you can get to that like Blood Aqueduct stage in like a few hours, and then trying to figure out all the nitty gritty while you're doing all this like leveling content might screw up your progression and all that. But if you're not, if you're more of like the average player and you don't have like a very specific plan to how you progress, I could see it like you get this boost every time you do it, which will then progress you further on. So I think for that, like you're probably right that it's gonna be like a net gain.
If you're not one of those, I guess I'll say this way: if you're not one of those first 50 people to get into endgame maps, it's probably going to be worth doing. Like the first 50 people to get into endgame maps, those guys make shitloads of cash in terms of just like selling base items and stuff, right? Like that's always going to be like a great way to make money, and those people might want to skip this stuff. But for everyone else, there's MasterCard. I mean, incursions and temples.
You talked about.
Go ahead.
Because I noticed that you compare this to a breach. So for what it seems to me, so a breach is like right, you click it and then you kind of have to wait, right, for it to go all the way out and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. With the incursion, you click the thing, you enter, and then you can just leave.
Yeah.
But everything is already open.
Kill the architect. Yeah.
So
You know what's a fun fact that I haven't mentioned as well? Is that the doors in there
yeah.
open automatically when you walk near them. That's such a little thing, but that's such a good thing.
Oh, really?
Like you know when you're like running through a Vile temple or whatever, and there's the little stone doors, and you have to click on them to open them. These just open when you walk next to them. They just automatically open.
Huh.
You don't even have to click on doors to open them. It feels so good.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Okay. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. Anyway, yeah, it is different to Breach. I liken it to a Breach because I don't know, like it feels like it probably has more mobs than a Breach, and it's a bit longer than a Breach, I think, if you do the whole thing and do it well.
Yeah.
But you're right in that you can just go in, kill the Architect, open a door, and leave. Like, you can leave through the portal. And once you get to, like, a point in power where you are really crushing them, so, like, you're playing a good build and you've accelerated, maybe you're doing ones that you've over-leveled it, so you're doing that sort of thing, then you can probably, like, get in there and leave and do it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, otherwise, it's not that long because like you get kicked out pretty quickly if you do badly as well. You get kicked out in 10 seconds.
Yeah. Though 10 seconds is an eternity in the clear speed meta we're in right now. I feel.
Not when you're like clear speeding though, because you're still killing stuff at the same speed you would normally be. It's almost no downtime in engaging in that, I think.
No, like for endgame, I could definitely see that you would just rush. Like you're not even gonna spend 10 seconds in there. Wow, you're probably gonna spend like for going through all of it. Probably, but that compared to a Breach, if you're like guaranteed, and especially since you can bail out a lot easier, you can check everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait and see whether or not there's good density. You come in and you see, oh, there's good density, or oh, I take this, and then go out.
Yeah, as much as people love Breach, there are some real issues with it in terms of like, you know, is it just in the middle of a narrow hallway, or is it just going to open? There's going to be no mob spawning, or is it going to like be that real slow expansion point where it starts to slow down, and then there's like massive packs of monsters. Do you stick around for that? Probably, you know, not at a certain point. You're just like, yeah, I'm not sticking around for that. So there is some like issues with that compared to this.
But what do you think? So, do you think that do you think this is going to be a good league overall?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I do think so. I think it will probably be one of the top ones. I don't know if it'll end up panning out to be the top one, but to me, it's like on paper and based on what I've played so far, which is, you know, like I don't know, 5 so hours of it. It seems to me like it has the makings of what could be the best league,
Okay.
like Challenge League wise. But the problem is in making that evaluation is that actually usually comes down more to what else is happening in the game at the time than the actual league itself.
Okay.
Like other leagues that people have loved, they've been for different reasons as well. Like Breach League was right at the height of power of certain builds that people really enjoyed playing, which got nerfed shortly after. So the next league was much worse in people's minds because like Ignite and everything got dumpstered immediately after Breach. So
But now we're
like,
getting
that sort of
Ignite
stuff has a big
back.
impact as well. Yeah, we're getting Ignite back in a way, and we're getting, you know, new skill reworks and Val skill stuff. I think the combination of like this league being more significant than most other leagues we've had, it's more significant, I think, than Breach. Like if you look at Breaches and then, and Chris kind of talked about this in an interview we had, like in terms of the tiers of leagues. But if you think about like this in terms of like the incursions and then a massive temple that you build yourself, and it has like a fair bit of longevity in terms of it's going to be pretty different each time, and you're trying to build that real sexy temple and everything. That has legs, I think. And then on top of that, I think the Val skill change is actually going to have a very big impact on how fun this game is to play as well. So I think this might end up being one of people's top leagues, maybe.
Okay.
I think there's a good chance.
So do you think the idea of like how you build the temple is gonna be better than say, because everyone thinks about or compares everything to Breach, and you're right. There was a lot of other variables to making that league very good and memorable. But do you think the progression system of the Incursion versus the progression system of Breach, with the incremental acquisition of all the splinters into a nice Breach Lord realm, where you go through all that, and that's like the climax of getting all these splinters? Do you think it'll have like the same kind of feel? I think it's gonna be good compared. Like what
I think it's
do
a
you
lot
think?
better than that.
You think it's
For a few
better?
reasons. Yeah, for a few reasons. Like, you don't get to actually, when we started playing Breach League, right, we didn't get to engage in that first like end game version of a breach domain for ages. Like, it took a while to get the splinters going for that, and then to actually run that. So that was like kind of slow and not something you did a lot of. Whereas this is something like I said, you can do every hour and a half, every hour or so, depending on what sort of player you are. And I guess like it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. So like the average player is going to be able to engage in this a lot more than they did with Breach, which I think will be a big benefit to the league. What will be interesting to see how it works out though will be if you're bad, just like at Path of Exile in general, or you play a bad build. So you're like fairly new to the game. You played a little bit casually in the past, and you're rocking you're rocking your fireball linked to added poison damage or whatever, and you go into your incursion, and you kill like one pack of mobs, and then you get kicked out, and you do that a whole bunch of times, and then you're on your first temple, and only 4 rooms are connected, and they're tier 1 rooms, and you got 1 tier 2 room, and you're like, wow, this temple's real shit. You get like nothing. They're not even new rooms. They're just like literally challenge rooms with no added bonus. And you're like, wow, this temple thing's real garbage. Why the hell did I even come here? So it'll fit, like, if you're bad at PoE, like pretty bad, or pretty new to the game, is a nicer way of saying it maybe, then it won't seem very good. Like, there's a definite difference between, like, doing this well and doing this poorly. Which I think is a really good thing, but it will have it will be interesting to see how new players engage.
Don't you think that was the case in Breach as well, though? Like in anything PoE, though, isn't that the case? Right? Imagine encountering your first red beast last league, and you have a bad build.
You get dumpstered. Yeah.
You will never kill. Like if it has regen, you can spend an hour and it's not dead, and you kill it. Right? You finally kill it, and you feel like, oh, this was like an end boss. And then nothing drops.
You get nothing. You just kill it as well. Don't even capture it.
So I think this is very indicative of PoE. If you have a bad build, you're gonna have a bad time in general.
So that's definitely true. Like, you're right. Everything in Path of Exile will do that. But I think this is even worse though, because you do all this thing and you're building this epic temple, and there's a map, and Alpha's like, you're finding the lost temple of treasures of the Val, and you're like, holy shit! And you're a new player, and you're like, yeah, I finally get to go to a giant treasure temple. And by this point, because if you've ever seen like a new player playing the game, they like get to Act 2 after like 6 hours of gameplay. So they're like 6 hours into their league, which is like 3 weeks of them playing, right? Because they play like half an hour in the afternoon. So they're 3 weeks into the league, and they're like doing their first temple, and then there's literally nothing in there. They're like, maybe they have one like weapon room, and some white and yellow weapons drop, and from like five chests, and they're like, wow. There's not even a boss at the end because they didn't even get to connect to the boss.
Oh, so do you think
that's going to be disappointing for them?
Yeah. Do you think that? Because I hear a lot of from you, I hear a lot of hype about getting to like the T3 rooms, right? Where all the goodies are. Do you think there should be the occasional like gem in there from a T1 room?
There is, yeah. Like, you're always going to hit a tier 1 currency room.
Okay.
So like there's less chests in there, and they're fewer. But if you like only get a tier 1 currency room, the vault in and you're leveling, and it drops like several orbs of binding, a couple chaos, and like some alks, and even like a bunch of transmutes and alterations. That's just really impactful right then, like as you're leveling. That's worth hitting. It takes you like 2-3 minutes to go there and do that. So that'll be like, some of them, are worth hitting even at tier 1 or tier 2. Like jewelry rooms, you're probably going to hit those most of the time, especially while leveling, and in high level maps that gets renewed as well because you like high level jewelry suite. So yeah, I think that'll be. Do I keep saying like? Do I chat? Sorry. I'll try not to. Sometimes you get on a bit of a loop with certain words, don't you? Like, whatever.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so there are some gems in there in terms of all level ones.
Okay.
Though the good amount of them is definitely fair. So I guess I'm just like starting 5 sentences here before I finish one. Let me think for a second.
Okay.
So the good thing about most of them being really good at higher tiers means that you have to actually put some strategy into building your temple. If most of them are good at tier 1 or tier 2, then you just do whatever and it wouldn't matter. But because you need to think about whether this one's only good at tier 3, you have to be like, okay, I'm on my 3rd incursion so far. I have enough time to visit this again a couple more times and get this to tier 3. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go for it. And maybe it's if you don't get it there, so like maybe you're starting it, you're on your 8th incursion, and you're like, should I really start on this room here? Because it's going to give all the monsters regeneration, because it's pools of restoration, absolute bullshit. Like, and I'm not going to get anything out of it because I'm not going to get it to tier 3. It's just going to make the temple hard as fuck. So, yeah, like that adds strategy, I think, in a good way.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Is there anything that I'm having a hard time thinking about something I don't like about the league, or about the idea of this league? Is there anything that like struck you as being weird, like missing out, something that you do you think that the regular just playing through PoE regularly, and if you are not in too much engaged never, will that feel tame?
Like,
is there enough? Okay, so we're so used to having content thrown at us as we go, like as we're just playing, right? But now you have to enter Incursion, and it's a separate zone. So all the Incursion stuff will not be in the regular PoE realm.
It's avoidable. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So people seem divided on this, I guess. Some
Okay.
people prefer this stuff to be avoidable, so if they don't enjoy it, they can just not engage in it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like you can't avoid a red beast. So if a league's, I feel like that's more of just an aggravating factor. So like if a league's bad, then it being unavoidable really shoves that in your face, and you don't want to play PoE anymore.
Yeah.
So red beasts, if you're like having a miserable time with them, then you're having a bad time because you can't avoid them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably doesn't, whether it's avoidable or not, probably doesn't affect a good league too much, because people are just going to do it anyway. If it's bad, though, it being avoidable helps redeem the game a bit for people, I imagine. So yeah, this is avoidable. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing if leagues are avoidable. Personally, I can't decide. Sometimes I think that they shouldn't be, because then the game gets changed for you, and you don't have the option to avoid. And sometimes taking options away from players is a good thing, and it actually changes the game. That's why you do meta rebalances and nerf off skills that people play different shit, because they won't if you don't make them. And it's in their best interest for them to do that. So sometimes that's good, but other times options are good as well. So I don't know. I can't decide.
I remember in Invasion, for instance, that made me quit. That actually made me quit PoE. Because it was, but this was more. I think that was more because it aggravated desync as an issue, and I was so frustrated at that point already about desync. So definitely that was like the kickstart to having shit being unavoidable, being something I personally didn't like. It's the same thing Beyond. If you're playing, that goes back to your point of if you're playing a bad build, unavoidable stuff can be really aggravating. If you're just playing some meme or something that's just fun to you, and you just want to kind of like just blow through content that's fairly easy, but your build isn't that good, so when it's put up to the challenge, it kind of falls apart. And that's I know for me that was something that could be really annoying. And the same thing in Bestiary League, right? You would always have these moments of really. There's this red beast again. Come on.
The start of Beyond, man, with those unavoidable hasted double regen resistant mobs. That shit was hilarious, but it was legitimately awful. No, I totally see what you mean, and that just made me have a thought about this as well. So, like, as a counterpoint or a balancing point for the bad/new players of the game, or just even the average players, this league or incursions become easier the less you're racing. So high level players who race are going to have a much harder time of this, because like if you're at the point where you're under leveling your zones like you're doing when you're racing and you go into an incursion, you're actually going to have a pretty hard time killing the boss and getting a door open. Like doing both is going to be quite difficult, and you'll have to make some sacrifices here and there. But if you take your time, and you kill most of the packs of monsters, and you don't really avoid killing stuff, and you're at/over zone level, and you've got a little bit of extra gear and stuff, you'll probably go into the incursion and do pretty well as well. So unless you're don't know how to build a character at all.
So the incursions are quite challenging, is what I'm kind of hearing here. So if you go in there and you have like a bunch of mods, because that's also the thing, especially while leveling, when you go into every single solo you go through do not have any mods on them, and then you build like these like layers of mods into your incursion, into your temple. They're all stacked up. That is not something you would normally get in a level zone. So yeah, I could definitely see the difficulty.
It's to the point where I think that builds when like leveling builds are going to have different breakpoints about where they become effective, like very effective at doing incursions. So I think that you might want to consider when you're starting, for example, if you meet Alvarin Mudflats for the first time, and you're sitting there with, you know, whatever janky leveling setup you've got that's not particularly effective, you're not playing one of the better leveling skills, or you're not like, you haven't got a lucky drop, maybe you didn't find move speed boots yet, or, you know, still stuck on too small flasks or something like that, then you might want to, if that incursion is an important one, like let's say it's a vault and it's a door that you need to open, then you might be like, I'm not going to do this yet. I might wait until I actually get, you know, this skill in prison. That's when I'm going to all of a sudden become a lot stronger. Or even if I just go break the eggs, go into the next zone and get, you know, new skill there.
Oh, so you can delay going into an incursion?
Yeah, she gives you the same incursion next time you meet her.
Oh, okay.
So if you're like, that first encounter you might not want to do, for example, you might want to hold on. Like let's say you're playing a trapper. Explosive trap is quite strong at single target, but a bit slow on clearing. So you might have a hard time if you're not particularly good at using it, or not, you didn't find a couple nice, like I said, move speed bits or something like that. And you might have a bit of trouble with doing those first few incursions. So you might want to hold off a little bit until you know, get multi-track, for example. So you have a bit more AoE clear.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it'll be challenging, and builds will hit certain breakpoints. Like, you know, you're playing that same trapper, you get fire trap, all of a sudden you got fire trap, multi-trap, and you just start crushing the incursions, and you're doing really well then. And then you can like really load up on your incursions.
Nice. I like that. Okay. I know you had a question for me as well. Something you wanted.
Oh, let me consult the document.
Yeah.
So I can remember what that question was. Do I still have the document? I do. What was my question for you? Oh yeah. So this league brings you new league mods, and I'm talking about like blue items with a specific modded mod on it. So incursion specific modifiers.
Yeah.
What do you think about this mechanic, Nugi?
This mechanic? Well, I think it's a great mechanic.
Itself.
I gotta say though, I am disappointed that, well, maybe this is okay. So this might be their way of introducing it to the game, but I think this could have been done like way earlier, and it could have been done in a way that emphasized PoE's other content. Because I think right now PoE suffers from not having, like, there's very little targetable farming, and there are few ways of feeling that you're getting anything nice out of, say, a Baxith, right? So what these blue items are, let's just, so the blue items are a set of mods that are exclusive to, how do you acquire them? Do you need to kill the boss of the incursion zone, or what drops
I didn't actually find any in my testing. Maybe they weren't implemented yet, but apparently tier 3 rooms can drop them.
Okay, so it's
Maybe?
like any monster
exactly
in the tier 3 room, or is it the boss itself?
I don't know.
Okay, so we don't know.
So this will need some player discovery, which is interesting.
Yes. Okay, but let's just, okay, so let's say tier 3 rooms, we're not really sure whether it's the boss or it's just a room, but it's a, I would imagine, since they are named, they're gonna be tied to the name of the room itself, or the type of room.
Yeah, or like theme wise or something.
Yeah. So
lightning
like
ones get posted, and there's a lightning room and so on.
Yeah. So like, let's say we're going into a lightning room, and it drops the T3 lightning stuff, and it gives you like a double mod on a single roll, right, on a single affix. Right. So the prefix might be Quaxable Fibble thing. That gives you like a T0 lightning roll plus pen, which is pretty insane on a single roll. And
plus they're low level too. You can use them from like level 20 or 30 as well.
Yeah, so do you get the full mod and a low level?
Yeah, they have a very low level requirement.
That is crazy.
That's by design too.
That I think I'm kind of fine with that. Because if you're trying to craft it, you still want the high level stuff.
Wait. Pause. Bex says they're based on architects, I'm pretty sure. I think they can drop from chests in the room, but I could be wrong about that.
Aha.
A little bit of insight from Bex there.
Okay. Well, I would imagine they would be themed towards whatever. It just seems logical to me that it's based towards that, so you can kind of target farm. So target farming, I think, is important, especially in the incursion, and I like that. But I think this could be like spread out to. It could be, you could have it on Hast, and you can apply this to like everything in the game. If you've ever played Grim Dawn, they have a monster infrequent system where certain monster has pretty much the exact same thing, like pre-roll items with specific mods, and they're on like these world bosses, so to say, and you chase those and you look for them, and they're gonna be tailored to your build. I think that's really it adds like a level. It adds like an opportunity every time you engage some of the harder content, versus right now you encounter like all the breach lords and the beyond bosses, and they're just lame because they never give you anything of real value.
Yeah, nothing interesting or unique to them, which I think is pretty important for making it feel special, right? Making it feel exciting.
So I hope that this
Krishy, one of the ZiggyD devs, confirms they're from chests tied to specific rooms. So in a tier 3 room, you might find a chest that will drop this sort of thing.
Okay, so they're tied to the chest. Again, I don't like this. I want them to be tied to the boss of the room. Why not?
Like the architect or something.
Yeah, he holds it. It's his. It seems odd that I guess he stashed it away.
Yeah, and I mean I guess that's the theme of the temple too. That the whole temple is a giant loot storage temple. So you're raiding the loot. So I guess it kind of makes sense in that perspective. The boss does guard the chest though, Hirishi says.
That's true, but you could just ignore it. And there's never this like, I killed him and I got something valuable out of it. And I feel that's really important. I think Pee-wee lacks that a bit.
I think like in this case it doesn't matter because the whole thing is a loot temple and that's kind of the idea of it. But I agree, like
you can sell me on that.
Your example of Beyond Bosses is a good example where it's like this could have been a really cool opportunity for that sort of thing to be explored more. And maybe that's the direction they're moving. I didn't kind of ask in that route because like I didn't focus on this particular thing when I was there too much, but maybe that's the direction they're moving, of like doing this sort of thing in leagues more, and that could flesh things out. The monster infrequents thing, as like a reference in Grim Dawn, I think is pretty cool. Like you have a giant troll boss, and you go farm the troll boss to try and get the troll's club because it has specifically like some bludgeoning and bleed stuff on it or that. And you're like, yeah, that's super good for my build, and I can use this for a while, and that's quite exciting, quite fun. But so like I'm saying like a few more times, you appreciate the fact that this is like a targeted farming thing.
Yes, I do.
We're so
very much.
Yeah. But is this a good way of doing it though? I don't know. I feel like so often these ones that have one mod on them and you chuck an augment and a regal on there and it's terrible are really disappointing. Like the potential of them is really high. When you do get a good craft, it's epic. And when someone posts that on Reddit, you're like, wow, I'm really jealous of that.
Does that boil down to crafting in PoE though, and master crafting specifically? Do you think maybe master crafting is not in the state where it should be?
Probably. It's probably a separate whole issue.
Because that's what I'm hearing here, right? It's like, oh, but you see all these cool things, and I don't really know how to approach this blue item and how to like make it good. If that's the issue, then there's an underlying issue of like how we craft. That's why it's not fun. That's why it might not be good. I think that's where beast crafting came in. I think there was a huge opportunity for good crafting opportunity. Well, there's a huge opportunity in beast crafting for making that more interesting and making it more targetable and specific. And then you would add this on top, and you can kind of mix and combine, and you would find all these pieces and you would create, right? Because then you could say, I made this at the end, rather than I got lucky and I hit the regal.
I really like the combining of things like master crafting or beast crafting with the regular crafting system in PoE, multi-stage kind of,
Yeah.
with a bit of determinism, but also a bit of random.
Of course.
Is, I think, pretty cool.
Like, first of all, like, there's a lot of randoms. The random element starts at the blue item, right? The infrequent item. Because it has to drop at the right base and the right mod. Right? So there's already there's a lot. And then if you have the beast crafting, then there's another layer there, right? You have to hit the right tier. But you will hit the right thing at least. You will know that whenever I put these two together, I get something half decent. They might be bad rolls, they might not be the right base, but at least I created the right item that I needed.
So I feel like in the context of us having the crafting tools available, this is one-shot crafting, which is what this is, I guess.
Yeah.
You have one shot at crafting this item, is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But in the way the game is currently, I think people are mostly going to forget this is even a thing in the league. And it's going to be pretty lame most of the time. Unfortunately, I think it's probably not going to be the most exciting part of this league, which is okay. There's a lot of other cool stuff going on, but I feel like the Elder and Shaper thing really nailed this concept more in a way that fits PoE currently as it is.
Okay.
Where we can re-roll this stuff and try and get a cool combination of these mods. It works at different levels too. It works at like the ultimate crafting level of crafting the craziest shit with lots of currency, and it works at like I'm crafting a 5-link pair of gloves here that I can use, for a couple of chaos. That's cool.
So I have a question here. Do you think that's because to me, I'm fairly certain that that Shaper and Elder items are weighted towards the Shellborn Elder mods. Like there's not like compared to how strong they are versus hitting a tyrannical roll, right? Hitting a tyrannical roll might be as strong as hitting a gain physical mod or physical element mod, but the rarity of the two mods are vastly different. Like tyrannical is like 1 in 1,000. Hitting just one gain is like you hit that like every 50 alterations. Like there's such a huge level of opportunity cost between those and power, right? It might be the same power if you're thinking about it in PoE terms, but right, that's where the determinism comes in, right? Where
it probably is. I think we have access to that info, so we could probably even answer that question about the weightings of these mods. Yeah, weighting is definitely a part of that, but the bigger thing is just that you can reroll them, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, the Shaper ones you can reroll, but they're also when you're rerolling them, you don't feel like you're wasting your time.
Yeah, it's continually exciting.
Yeah, because
Next
it's good and it's common.
Hitting that double Shaper mod. Yeah, I feel like they quite nailed it with that. But again, that's in the context of the way PoE crafting is now.
Yeah.
Like you say, with the right tools. It feels like Temple of Atzelhardl's modded items are before their time, I guess. Before we get the rest of the things that make.
I don't know. I think they're.
Like a master rework or something.
Yeah. I think master crafting is just outdated, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty old now. I'm sure it'll be due for an update soon.
Okay. Well, that's for another big discussion on how should crafting be. What will be?
Yeah, that's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. What builds are going to be good? Very broad question.
Whew. Like I was saying earlier, so much these days, right?
Yeah.
I guess the first thing is, it seems like there's very little coming in the way of nerfs here, and that's the impression I got from talking to GGG. This is not a nerf league. So anything that's currently good, probably still good.
Yeah.
That's a good starting point. Anything you like right now that you love playing and you're like, oh no, I'd be really sad if they took this away. Just play it. You'll probably be fine. So all previous advice works. That's a good starting point. So with that said, what about we focus on the new stuff? What's caught your attention first, Nugi, before I say what I think? What's caught your attention?
Ignite and art.
What about Ignite?
What about Ignite? Well, I think.
Yeah, which ones?
Okay, so I think in general, the PoE community has been very caught up in PoE numbers and hitting millions. I think one thing that people have forgotten is how little HP general monsters actually have. If you get 100k ignite on everything, that's pretty much enough to kill even rares, right? If you apply that, it's actually dead. People are one-shotting.
It's all about that shape of DPS, bro.
Yeah, but people are already everyone's already one-shotting like rares at certain points, right? So if you have, I think both the buff of the prolif and the buff of the ignite, I think that's back on the table, big time, where you just kind of like blanket hit the entire screen, get the ignite and everything, and even when Beyond spawns, they just kind of fall over.
Yeah, what you're saying is the classic Path of Exile conundrum of like, once you get to enough damage, it's about how many things you can hit at once.
Yes.
That's the most important. And every build potentially gets there eventually, and Ignite gets there a little easier now. So the Prolif thing is probably the bigger change overall, maybe. Just getting a Prolif buff is pretty significant.
I don't think so. We had Prolif already.
Ignite was bad to the point that
it's just
was not able to easily get to that point of killing everything, like you're saying.
It's near impossible.
So the combination of the two is strong. Yeah.
Right. They've buffed Ignite by what, 25% damage, just the Ignite. Stuff like Fireball and Flame Blast. The way you apply an Ignite, right? The builds that you're gonna use for that, I think are gonna be you're not gonna do Frostbolt Ignite. It's gonna suck.
No.
Because it doesn't have an 88 more multiplier.
Yeah.
Right? So it will not have enough punch on the Ignite. There's just not going to be enough lingering damage there. What do you actually think about that?
So I think that's just going to be on a time delay. I think that's going to be something that we get back. So I know people like doing conversion Ignite setups and that sort of thing. And I think we're probably it's going to be significantly weaker than pure Fire Ignite, just because a lot of the buff power. I mean, there's been a fair bit of power gain on non-skill specific things. Like you said, the base mechanic has been buffed and passives have been buffed and some support gems have been buffed and all that stuff works on a conversion setup. But there's a significant amount of power in the skills specifically, like Flame Blast and Incinerate and Fireball getting big multipliers and so on for it.
Do you like that for PoE?
You're right. Not long term. I think for a league or two that's fine, but not long term. I am personally very sad about the fact that Voltaxic doesn't work anymore for what it does, right? Of like fully converting lightning to. I would say we want Voltaxic back to be full conversion and stuff like that. Like there was the talk about things losing their identity, and I don't know, but I feel like we've lost more in that. And this will be a bit more of losing the potential of doing conversion stuff, but. Where we're at right now, it's not like you're doing conversion Ignite builds right now anyway, so you're not actually losing anything. But I hope that comes back eventually.
I think
potentially or something that can be done.
I think on a personal note that PoE has lost a lot of the skill customization. Everything we get these days, right? I could probably go on a bit of a rant, but everything we get these days are like these packaged like deals. Blade Flurry, right? This is how you play it. You stack it up to 6, you get all the damage that way. It has like its own like little multi-strike in there. Right? There's all this like, this is how you play it, and you just stack multipliers on it. Now you have Incinerate. There's no longer projectiles. You can you get the AoE, and that's fine. You stack it up, and then kind of you get the 100% ignite on it even on the final stage. This is how you play it, right?
So I guess I disagree immediately based on your specific example is a good point for me to disagree with. So I agree that we get more skills that are just prepackaged skills you don't do anything with. Like Wild Strike, for example, is the example I complain about. Really cool skill, really fun to play. You can't do anything with it. You just put Wild Strike on your character and you scale damage. Yeah. And attack speed and crit and so on, right? You can't actually do anything interesting with it because of the way it's designed. It's just a package skill. It's pre-done. Incinerate, though, I think is a good example of the fact that that's not necessarily always the case, though. Incinerate is built in such a way that you can build pure ignite with it. It's got 100% ignite, and it's got a big ignite multiplier, and it's got the wave now that you can do that. Or you can build hit damage, or you can build hit damage ignite combo. The strongest way is probably going to be a combination of ignite for debuffs and then hit damage focus, probably. But you can still build ignite, and I played a pure ignite setup that was pretty well geared, and I crushed everything in the game with it. Like I went and tested on you know all the things, and it was great. So you can totally do that. Compared to old Incinerate, you literally built that one way, pretty much. Right? There wasn't really anything interesting you could do with old Incinerate. It was interesting because it was pretty different to the way other skills work. You know, it didn't have crit and stuff like that. So maybe you could do a little bit with that.
Okay.
But there wasn't that much you could actually do with Incinerate before.
I think where we're in a very different spot is like how the skill, I would say, feels in terms of AoE, in terms of cast speed. Because old Incinerate, you had like you could get it to like full screen, and everything depended on how you like put the sockets together, right? You could GMP, faster proj, slower proj, like the whole geometrics of skills. I feel like are kind of becoming the same. We have thresholds. Everything is 5 proj now. It's just everything is just clustered into the same, and everything becomes the same kind of clear speed thing. And right, everything has an explosion. Everything has like I don't know. I feel like the socket system is more about just stacking multipliers on it, and we don't really customize the skill that much anymore. It's not like you can't make interesting builds around it. With then, I make it like an ignite build, or I make it a hit build, or I make it whatever. It's more that the application, like how you apply it to then your playstyle, I feel is a lot different. Or maybe it's just the socket system. I feel like it's so much different than we used to.
Well, I think what you're describing could be attributed to two separate things, maybe. Okay. One is just projectiles you can do more things with than AoE. Right, AoE is either bigger or smaller. There's nothing else you can do with it. At least now you can cascade it. That's kind of interesting. But projectiles, yeah, you can do a lot more with projectiles. You can make them bounce around, or split, or pierce, or fork, or bounce, or whatever. So that could be part of it. And the other part could be expectations, like player expectations. We have an expectation that all skills can be proficient at doing things. And in some cases, I feel like every skill should be... I feel like players feel like every skill should be good at doing everything. Like, why can't I just have my, X skill and do Shaper with it? Or why can't I just have my X skill and clear and kill bosses with it without having another skill? So maybe like the expectation kind of make it so that everything coalesces a bit more to having good AoE, for example.
I do think that I think what I'm kind of on the fence with having some of the AoE skills do so much damage. I think that there is a right, because old Incinerate, when you're really close, right? This is back to the shotgunning mechanic. I kind of feel like PoE lost a lot when that disappeared, because you would go really close and you get this punch, and then you'd be far away and you did like 0 damage, but you hit everything, and now you just KB and everything dies. But I guess it's sort of the same, but now you wallbang, and there's still things there.
Shotgunning was interesting, but degenerate. Don't even lie. Don't even try and defend it. It was a degenerate mechanic.
You don't think that there are ways of combating that?
Removing it probably was a good way of combating it. I think the removal of shotgunning was a good call. Personally.
I don't know. It just, for me, it changed up. Because you had skills that couldn't shotgun. Anyways. Like,
it's far better to remove it and then add it back to things, I think. We can add shotgunning as a mechanic to things. Especially through secondary effects, which is effectively what they've done.
I don't think that's better at all. That just means anything that can inherit the same ability becomes so much stronger than anything else, i.e. KB, i.e. Barrage. I disagree on that. I don't think that the new way where you can like pseudo shotgun still is any better, because this just locks those skills way more into being the overpowered ones, like Molten Strike as well. Add projectiles, just keep adding projectiles, and it gets like multiplicative damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same problem in a way. It's just like less skills, I guess.
Yeah.
Are problematic with it now, which means they can target the skills specifically, I guess.
Yeah, probably. Okay. Right, so we kind of got
We got
sidetracked.
I forgot what we were talking about just before.
We're talking about what builds are going to be good. Like, we're talking about Ignite being a good
yeah.
mechanic.
Oh yeah, no, you mentioned AoE being too strong, like too high damage. That was an interesting point, I thought. I agree, right? Like, really high AoE stuff probably shouldn't have such good damage. I think the reason why it does, though, is because of the socket system. Like, we can only, like, a lot of builds, if they're using one-handers, can only use one 6-link, and so you want your AoE to be good enough to kill everything. And to be able to be good enough for the boss. And how bad does it feel when something isn't? Like Arc, for example, previously. Arc was, you know, well, we can talk about how it wasn't, you know, even a good clearing skill anymore, but it was a clearing skill in its day. But it was not good for single target. And people hated that. People hate that. Even though you're supposed to use a different skill for your single target in Arc builds. Or you suffer that, but it's difficult to do. Thankfully, Shaper and Elder Res fix that a bit by giving us more link potential. So maybe moving forwards in the future, easing socket burden so that we can have more skills, active skills, helps a lot. And the Val change is really good for that too.
Yeah. I don't think that's something you reliably use though, the Shaper. I don't know. I think that's a bit of a... I guess you can do the Elder and Shaper weapons to create like these mini 6-links and stuff. I don't think that. I think that's more of a helmet and glove thing, though, not really the weapons. Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. No, that's kind of nice. Yeah, that we can have 2 skills now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an improvement for the game overall.
Yeah, I think so.
I think for sure.
I think we're gonna get that with the Voling as well.
Dude, yes.
That is something I'm looking. The Voling, Vol orbs. This is something I really am looking forward to. Yes, because the new mods for Vol orbs, if you apply them to like a good unique, a +2 to a skill is fairly significant. So there's like this, like we have like, because it's one thing before is that you didn't have good modifiers for uniques. I think that's something we lost a little bit, where we get all these Shaper orbs, Shaper and Elder items. We got those. Now we're getting Vol modifiers. So the uniques can now be brought up a tier to make them more in line, right? So you use the Conk Effect helmet +2, and it'll compete straight up with the Shaper helmet. I think that's great.
I didn't see that mod. I guess I haven't seen some of the mods you're specifically referring to here yet.
Have you not seen the helmet Frostburn, Frost whatever, +2/+2?
Yeah, didn't it just? Yeah. That becomes much more competitive with a.
All you need is a Vol orb, and you get one. You just get 1 +2 on a good on a pseudo 5-link unique, and it's like a level 3 in power on top of it for the specific specific like fire or lightning or cold skill.
Certainly brings them up a notch. Absolutely.
I think that's going to be super nice.
Although you can also do that on Elder or Shaper Rare.
Yeah, but the opportunity cost of that is generating the Elder or Shaper Rare first, which is a lot less common.
And then losing it.
Yeah. These are like throwaway uniques that you can now pile up, right? And you can just throw them on there.
Agreed. Yeah, that's cool. It's worth saying, like, I guess on this then the whole Varling thing, they're like revamping the mod pool and adding this double corruption thing through the temple. So there's a lot of like Varlobs were one of the I think one of the best mechanics they added to the game.
Yeah.
In PoE.
Yeah, I agree.
Like so perfectly Path of Exile. Like the risk with it, the reward, the meme that comes out of it basically of just like Varlet. That has been like the longest running Path of Exile meme basically of all time. Is, you know, Varlet, whenever you get something good, Varlet. Ever since Sacrifice of the Varl expansion till today, even with the mod pools being kind of garbage by today's standards. Like, that's pretty bloody good, pretty successful mechanic. And they're updating that and making it better. So that's awesome. That's very exciting.
I honestly think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most. Just a better Voling mechanic. Because like now I won't feel bad about Voling a ring anymore. That was something I would never do in the past. Right? No, so much more opportunity for Vol targets. It's gonna be great.
Like but a sweet double implicit with a better mod pool to draw from now on a ring.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah. I'd sacrifice 30 res or 30 life or something for that. pretty good.
Mm.
That's very fun, and like double filing, you know, like you said, kind of cheap disposable uniques.
Yeah.
But it's like, let's say a quiver, and then you get 2 really juicy things on that. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And especially taking advantage.
I'm really excited.
I think taking advantage of whatever uniqueness, right, unique modifier there's to the fact that you couldn't really make the uniques. There's a lot of uniques that are like almost there, but they're not quite good enough. Right, having those just put up like a slight amount, like will make them good enough that we will have like just a huge amount of like extra. Like look at the boots, for instance. Like trap, like the trap boots, the 5 link. Now your boots can become your 5 or 6 link as well if you throw a ball up in there,
cool.
right? Because it modifies. It's not just a frenzy charge, which is like a global modifier. It modifies the actual boot and what you put in them.
Dude, that's dope on a trapper. That's awesome. Nice.
So with that, oh trapper. Let's talk about traps.
Yeah.
You played a lot of traps.
I did. It was the thing I played most while there, just because it was so fun. God damn it, chat. Yes, I played a lot of fire trapper action there, but also played around with all the new traps. I'm not going to talk to you specifically about the lightning stuff yet, because I'm going to make a video for that for like tomorrow. So I don't want to take the steam out of my video for tomorrow.
Okay.
But generally speaking, like we've had some very good updates for traps in previous expansions, like reducing the duration, making them explode at the end of that duration, and giving them damage immunity when they're first arming and activating. That sort of stuff is real nice just for quality of life of a trapper. And also for not forcing you to go Saboteur as well.
Yeah.
Like Sabuti, that's pretty good as far as trapper support that we've had in the past. And now to consolidate on that, so like all traps not having a cooldown, except the new tier of Uber traps, which are very powerful traps that are on a longer cooldown with charges. Dude, oh my god, so good, so good. Feels so fun. I'm so on board with it. And yeah, to confirm, because I see this question coming up a lot, the trap support also doesn't have a cooldown. So even make your own traps now, not just the pre-mades. You can that it makes so many more things viable, right? Before, with the cooldown and charge system, you'd only really want to put certain skills on a trap, stuff that were really oomphy. The fact now that you can like spam them as much as you want based on, you know, whether you can support the mana cost and so on, is makes many more options for it. Trappers just feel like they're going to be so diverse and also just so fun and powerful. Like the quality of life on them now is going to be so great. I'm excited, man.
Oh, so am I. I think like just imagine throwing on like Roa on a trap and there's no cooldown anymore. I remember all the arrow the bow style trappers, right? You had the bleed traps and everything, and they just kind of fell out of fashion. And I know a lot of people used to love like bow trappers. I think with all the revamps to Roar and what's that other skill? Blast Rain. Oh
yeah,
man, that makes for a pretty sick trapper, I think. Imagine like Blast Rain traps with Chinzol. You stack fire damage, and flat fire damage.
Juicy.
It's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah.
I wonder though, what kind of traps are gonna be the best?
So, like Flamethrower Trap, for example, is very strong. Like, it's a very good single target. But someone mentioned Cremation Trap to me, and I'm like, I wonder if it's, you know, if it is actually better like than that, is just as far as pure raw single target goes, especially because you can freely spam potentially. The limitation though for that obviously is you still have to generate corpses. So whether you do that with a totem or you custom desecrate or something.
There's also
when
a
you
duration.
can spam it freely. Yes.
The thing about Cremation Trap before is that you got that sweet trap multiplier, right? And then on the Cremation Trap, it kind of lined up with the duration of the trap and the duration of cremation with a limit. Right, so you can have 4 cremations rolling, if you do 10 cremations, well, there's only gonna be 4 up. So you could keep spamming cremation traps,
True,
and it's not actually
true,
gonna
yeah.
increase your damage.
Yeah, true. So previously that would have been a lot better than flamethrower, but under the new system, then potentially not. Yeah, it's I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to be the best. I know that so fire trap and flamethrower trap feel very strong and very consistent, and I've certainly I tested most of the content in the game and did it like I did, you know, Shaper and Elder and all that stuff just fine, as well as, you know, I felt good for clearing and everything. Though I do suspect that lightning trap might actually end up being a bit stronger. For that reason we talked about earlier. At a certain point, that's where how many things you can hit. And you can hit a shitload of stuff with lightning trap.
What arc trap?
Also lightning trap too. Arc trap could be interesting. New arc looks pretty strong. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to be best exactly. The lightning spine trap also seems very good for single target too as an option. But you also have other interesting options that do work with the spammable trap system, like ball lightning, for example. I think you mentioned that, right?
Ball lightning?
Someone mentioned?
No,
Did you
I
mention
haven't really
that?
mentioned that.
Someone mentioned that to me.
Ball lightning is weird to me.
Ball lightning with like slow approach trap support gloves, for example. That's, I think, one of the combos you can get on Elder or Shaper gloves.
Okay, I think that's
Like,
good
that
for
could
single
be-
target.
Yeah, I think that could be very good for single target. But it just seems it's hard to decide, and it seems so flexible as well, which is the exciting part. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of different trap skills, which is super exciting. It's very fun, and lots of different routes you can go, like lines of play. Lots of interesting lines of play here.
Yeah.
Even leveling. So you start off with leveling with explosive trap, which is proficient enough for early leveling, and then becomes a decent single target. Then you either go into fire trap, which is very consistent in terms of one throw, explosion plus the amped up burning ground just kills the pack. Feels real good, and also works pretty well for single target under right circumstances. Or you go into lightning trap as well and have a bit of easy. The advantages of lightning trap, for example, being that it's much easier to get a +1 lightning wand because you need 2 blue and a green for an added lightning trap multi trap.
Yep.
So that's like easier. So you have multiple lines of play in terms of leveling it as well, which is super interesting, regardless of what your endgame plans are for traps.
I think
Whether
for
you go
leveling,
another
you
stuff.
stick
Might
with
even
like
be-
one of the good like actual traps. I think that's probably
leveling?
for leveling.
Well, I'm curious if people come up with some spell plus trap supports for leveling that might be worth using as well. And there might be. I didn't test any of that.
Maybe.
It's certainly easier to run a pre-made trap for leveling.
Yeah. I think for endgame, for sure, we're gonna see trappers like with the trap support gem having a little bit more of a harder time seeing things beating out lightning trap.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
For
It's
single
gonna be
target,
nice.
for sure, though. For single target, I can see. Because if you're using lightning trap, what becomes... Well, there's like one lightning trap, isn't there? Like a big boy lightning trap? That has
Lightning
like
Spire trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll probably be in my next video. It's basically like your amped up single target cooldown skill.
Okay.
And then you spam your regular lightning traps.
Do you think it's good? Can you say that much?
Yeah, it's good. I think I think both the fire and the lightning one are both really good, like very good.
Yeah.
I think seismic trap's a bit weird though.
Okay.
It looks dope because it looks like something out of June 2000.
Yeah.
Calling over the sandworms, protecting your spice harvesters. Love it. But that's a weird one though. I think that's a weird trap because
Really?
it's weird for single target. But the other two are very good for single target.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a bit weird for single target. It's more of an AoE skill, but it's an AoE skill on a long cooldown. So do you use explosive trap as your single target? Then your clearing becomes really awkward because you're using this cooldown big AoE skill. I don't know. Seismic trap feels weird. The physical trapper setup feels a bit weird.
Do you think it has enough potential, say, with the Kong effect on a large target?
On a large target, yeah. With Conk effect, sure. It's probably going to destroy. But not better than the other ones do, probably.
Okay.
Lightning Spire Trap probably has the highest potential of the three as far as single target.
Really?
Like hitting a big boss with all of the zaps. Plus that bear trap rework. Ooh, real nice.
Yeah. The bear trap rework is pretty cool. I worry that it becomes like an annoyance though. Because like if you have one bear trap and you have to hit it and something is like a little speedy and you miss.
Get good, bro. Get good.
Yeah. One trap I'm not sold on whatsoever. Siphoning trap.
No, me neither. It's gonna get used just by like Righteous Fire characters probably.
Yeah. Yeah, just for like an extra way of like reaching a little bit on like any character. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool on one thing, like it provides another tool in the toolbox as a way of recovery for trappers, but the problem is it just doesn't work with the way you play a trapper.
Yeah.
The way you play a trapper is super bursty, so everything's dead by the time you're not hanging out in an area dealing damage to stuff, and the prep time it takes to activate something like that siphons and slowly regens you off of monsters. You're like, are you gonna wait there while they slowly siphon life to you? Or are you just going to throw a set of traps, kill them, get your flasks to recharge, and then move onwards? Like, yeah, it might be a little bit helpful in some boss fights, but yeah.
Maybe we're gonna see people having just trap supports as their like extra thing to do on builds, where it's a little slow here and there, or where you don't have that many actions. It could be on totem characters as well, right? Anything that doesn't have any direct hit.
Yeah, any build that's got a bit of spare time and some spare slots, I could see potentially using it.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
That's cool. Like, if it ends up filling a role like that.
Okay.
People are asking about Ice Trap. I didn't specifically test it, so I can't comment directly, but I'm like 99% sure it doesn't have a cooldown as well. Ice didn't get much love exactly. Not in the same way Fire and Lightning did, and getting a skill pairing. Like, there's no new skill pairing with Ice Trap, which is a shame because Ice Trap's cool, but there's potentially some reasons for that moving forwards that I think would be NDA. So probably can't say anything more about that. But yeah, no real love for Ice Trap. That said, though, you could just make a new Cold Snap Trap build.
You can make Ice Nova Trap. No. Ice Nova is like one of those like kind of punchy skills that are just like such a long cast time. It's like hard to like scale the damage of it. Like Ice Nova Traps could be a thing now.
Ice Trapper has good things available, and now that you have free spam ability and improved passives and sports and stuff. I mean, Frostbomb Trap and Ice Trap and Cold Snap and Ice Nova, all these things have potential. Yeah. So Ice Trappers are still probably going to be fine if you want to go that route.
Yeah. Well, another thing that's coming in 3.3, vault skills.
Ooh, dude.
I know you're really excited for that. I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I was more interested. I already excited, and I made my video, and I was like, dudes, I'm excited for this, because I feel like this is going to be such a big improvement to the combat feel of the game. I'm curious, how do you feel about the Var skill mechanics rework firstly, and then maybe specific stuff?
On the mechanics side, on the mechanics side, I think people are going to be, for a lot of builds, disappointed, because they're gonna think, oh, I'm gonna have my main skill and my Vol skill at the same time, and I'm gonna just be using my Vol skill throughout the map, and then main skill it down on the boss or whatever, or charge it up, and it's gonna be like, Vol skill all the time. No. You're probably gonna be most of the time, except for like a few gimmicky things where you can like charge up enough and then have massive duration, like Vol double strike and stuff like that. I've seen like, what was it, a 40-second duration minion and stuff. That's gonna last long enough to feel impactful, but I think like for Vol Fireball, you're gonna click it like every like 8 seconds, and then you're gonna be fireballing all the rest of the time.
Yeah. And that's like the idea.
Yeah. No, it's good, but I think we're not gonna go back to the like this. Like you're not gonna have this like spammy Vol skills. That's not gonna happen. It's gonna be like an occasional thing when you see, juicy pack, you blow it up. Those
like Var Fireball, Var Spark builds, which were basically the only two. Briefly Var Ground Slam. Those builds have been carried up onto the Aztec altar of the Val Temple right at the very peak, and just sacrificed in pursuit of better gameplay overall for everyone to use Val skills. They've been sacrificed for the greater good, it seems. So that's the idea, at least.
So that whole
people are gonna be
play style, I
disappointed they can't
think,
play Val Fireball like they did. Yeah.
it's just gone.
But,
Whatever
so,
you do, it's that because there is this like there's this lockout right on the skill, and it can't charge itself. I think people underestimate how much of a deal breaker that is. Like a lot of people are like thinking, oh, Vol Ground Slam. I kind of look at that and think, oh, you're gonna be so disappointed. You're gonna like Vol Ground Slam once and then see, oh, I have no charges left, and then you just sit there and Ground Slam.
So people are going to be disappointed if they're expecting to play a Val build in the sense that they recognize from Val Fireball and Val Spark. Yeah, totally. And some people are going to be disappointed with this change because they loved those builds and they loved that playstyle. Rory had a pretty good point though. Is like, if you're just able to cast this all the time, then why not just make it a regular skill? What makes it actually a Val skill?
I think it's a good change.
Hopefully in the
overall.
future they get those play styles in other ones, hopefully. You think it's a great change overall, though?
Yeah, I think so. I worry about bosses, though. They're having I don't know. Or maybe I don't. It's hard for me to say. I kind of like it and I kind of don't. Maybe I like it. Maybe I just like it. Is everything gonna...
Undecided?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I like it. I think it's gonna be fun because it's gonna have... One thing... I don't actually mind cooldowns in PoE. I think cooldowns are good. I think the spammy PoE style has kind of like... It's turned more and more into have one skill spam it and have one movement skill spam it. And there's very little to do in between for a lot of builds that changes up the play style, like doing it like a map. It's very much the same. Now you'll have these moments of power, moments of burst, which is gonna make it's gonna just give us like a different feel depending on the map we're going into, right? Oh, I finally hit that like one Vol Blight and everything just died, and I found that one peg. So I like that. It makes the gameplay more dynamic from map to map. I'm looking forward to that.
And that seems to be the idea, and that's what I'm most excited about. Is just the fact that like this will have an improvement on the overall just combat gameplay feel of the game. So both by giving you different things to do during combat, but also like a skill / thought component in terms of this is not on a regular cooldown. You can just muscle memory train yourself to use so much. Yeah. Because it's a role-based system. So you have to actually think about when you want to use this and be like, okay, now's an impactful time to use this. Or do I want to, use these now? Or do I want to make sure I save this up, to burst down the initial part of the boss a bit? That sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that this has a far bigger impact on the gameplay feel of Path of Exile than we would even think. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, I really hope that this has a big impact on making the combat feel fun. Feel more fun, more engaging. It could be a big thing. I think this has the potential to be a big deal for Path of Exile, more than you might think.
I think you're
Hopefully
right.
so.
I'm thinking, right now I'm thinking about, like, what is this going to do with gem progression as well? Right, because you're going to start out with not having it. And if you just find it level 1 and you have a level 20 gem, right, that kind of sucks. And now you have, like, how, because the whole gem progression and everything was with, right, so you have all the lab runners as well, right, finding quality gems. But now that's just not enough anymore, right? Getting the 2020 quality, getting the max quality and whatever. Now you have to get like that big 20 quality ball skill. Right, so I think because ball skills can't be GCP'd up, there's this like, I think that adds like a nice dynamic to it as well. Where like you're chasing like this big, nice 20 quality ball skill in the end. I always felt like, or at least recently I've felt that it didn't feel that great leveling up your skills. Or at least like the quality part and the little mini game of the getting your end game gems. So I hope that's gonna like improve.
Yeah, I don't find that particularly engaging either, personally. Though I know like the chase for a 21, 20 and stuff like that is cool. Yeah, there's like potentially going to be some sacrifice that you make to run a Val setup. Not nowhere near as big as in the past, but potentially a small sacrifice in it not being as easy to get a 2120 version of your main spell, for example, if you're a spellcaster. But there are also, it seems like there's also ways of still getting there with a bit more investment. So you can still get that, like, Bex posted a 2120 Val skill, so it seems to be possible. Probably through like the double corruption. So there still seems like there's still some ways to get there, and positive Val chests and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a bit awkward slightly on your first character if you're a spellcaster and you want a Val skill, because you're like playing an Archer. You will probably get a Val arc through the temples, or one will be available shortly after, because heaps of Val skills drop in the temples, and they also drop with quality and stuff all the time. So you might get like a 13 quality Val arc, but then you have to level it.
Yeah,
that's always an awkward thing.
I think that's a good thing though, because then it's no, I like that stuff, that it's not it's not as convenient, right? But it's a huge power boost when you get it set up. So there's like a shift there, and like, oh, I finally got it. Okay. Now we need to fix this up and make that good, and it's like you're kind of like prepping it, and I like that. It's not as set in stone, and there's like, if you get that really nice, you either get the 21 something or you get the vol skill of something that might change up your idea of what you want to make now, and yeah, I think that's good.
Maybe I'm like quite ambivalent on that whole thing. Quite neutral. Tell my wife I said hello.
Hello.
Memes. Is there any specific Val skills you were like super interested in?
I don't. Is there? Blade Vortex. Yeah, that's the name. Yeah, Val Blade Vortex.
Val VBV, mate. VBV.
Yeah.
VBV.
That one's interesting. Have we seen how
I don't know anything more about you?
Have we seen whether or not it moves with you at all, or is it? Because I remember. Okay, so there's the first thing I saw was, I think this is actually pretty important as well to whether or not it's gonna feel good or not, and whether or not it's gonna be strong, right? So there was the video, and he clicked the Val Blade Vortex and just kind of went whee. That did not seem nice. Have we seen anything else since then, or is that it?
I don't know, and I don't know if this is something Bex wanted to reveal. I didn't try Blade Vortex, so I can't really comment on that. I know a bit about it, but I don't know if this is something Bex wants to reveal, so I don't want to.
No. It's just I'm just asking whether or not we have any showcase. I don't think we had, right? I think that was the only time we saw it. Yeah.
I know exactly. Yeah.
I think that's actually. I hope that they're gonna be. Oh, this is actually a thing. I hope that they're gonna be willing to at least address wall skills coming in early on in the league if they suck. Like, I'll just put it like that. If they suck and they feel not fun to play, do changes. It's like now, boom. Especially if it's buffs, change. Right? Make them fun to play immediately. No, none of this like, oh, we don't want to do like things like immediately, or like, we don't like doing things like mid-league, but they do that anyways, right? Like they have nerfed things in the past, so why can't they just, if they can make things less powerful, they can make things a little bit more powerful as well.
Bex says I can tell. Thank you, Bex.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the Blade Vortex has AI and like chases down minions or something. So
it's just like a coincidence that it just like went off screen.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was an early version of it or something that wasn't finished.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah, it's supposed to be intelligent, so it should be pretty good as like, following the boss around or maintaining uptime on damage or going and seeking out other mobs or something like that.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty dope. It should be good, yeah, but I did not try it myself or see it even. So
that's kind of an interesting dynamic on like a boss kill, right? You have your opportunity when you have your defensive potions up. Right, so what you might come in with a fully charged BV, you go in, you pop it on the boss, you run around the circle around the boss, right? And let that kill it. And then, okay, it's down. So now you just spend some time with your defensive cooldowns on flasks, come in, charge it up again, run out when your potions are down, and then let it do the work again, right? When you have all the... Yeah.
Tactical.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing I think is going to be a big boon, a big just a fun factor in PoE. Like that you'll have more tactical gameplay with this, hopefully.
Yeah, that's all I'm excited about. Like the skills having some sort of synergy or ongoing effect or tactical application. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. It'd be interesting to see what they end up doing with Varlark, because I showed that a bit in the video with Rory, but
yeah,
the thing that they were giving Varlark, the forking effect, Rory said they were adding to the base arc, and then they were like, do we give Varlark something new now? What do we do with it? So I'm very interested to see what that happens with. Arc looks like it's going to be kind of nutty.
Yeah, it does.
Well, at least decent. At least decent, which is exciting, because such a classic old school skill.
So the new arc is just... It's gonna have the potential for more hits. Is that it?
So
like I know how the fork
like
works. Right?
Yeah.
It forks out like one every time, but it has its main. The main arc just keeps going, and it has every single time it jumps, it has one potential of a fork, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. Presuming further changes don't get made, it seems like they were trying to do a lot to arc.
Yeah.
Like they were like, yeah, let's add that, and then make it better and better and better. So who knows what it ends up being? Like, could end up being a bit of a powerhouse. But
yeah, I think it will.
Yeah, so it was like it was still adding stuff at the point. I think even recently, like I didn't show off the tooltip because they're still like, yeah, we might add something else to it before launch. We might give it a little bit more something else, which is pretty cool. So yes. As well as it having its more multiplier for, you know, how many chains remaining and so on.
Is there any ball skills you're looking forward to particularly?
This is the one thing I'm like slightly sad about that I'm going to start with the Trapper is I won't be able to like play with the Val skills so much.
Why not? Just put it in a trap.
Do traps even trigger Val skills like that though? Can you trigger? Can you Val trap?
Yeah, don't you remember Vol Fireball trap? Vol Spark trap?
Okay.
Vol Arc trap? Why wouldn't you?
Okay. I guess this is something I could play around with then. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, that's always been a thing.
Never experimented with that. There's lots of shit in PoE, okay? I haven't done everything.
Yes, you can do this. Vol DD trap. All right.
Siggy,
you did Vol Burning Arrow.
That's true. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So what am I most excited about then? Not Val Rain of Arrows. I don't think that's very interesting. It's just like it's just like multiple shots of Rain of Arrows with its. I think it still has its like pinning / slowing effect or something. So I don't think that's very interesting. Like that's like a nice little bonus for the skill, but I don't think that's very interesting. So that's an example of not super exciting. I'm very interested to see what they do with Varlark. Whether they make that something that's like you can spam a lot to provide a small buff and shock everything like crazy, or whether that's something they take the opposite direction and go for a big effect. That'll be very interesting to see what they do with that. Val Double Strike is super fun.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's going to get nerfed since I recorded the footage, or if that gets changed in some way, or if it was complete or not. But that's very fun. Like that's its own playstyle now.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, but they're so slow, the minions, and they're stupid, and you're playing a minion build." And honestly, I think they seemed really like fast and responsive for what I could see.
Yeah. That seemed really good to me.
Yeah.
And, like they're a mirror of you, so they're that strong.
So what does that even mean? What does a mirror of you even mean? Do they get charges? Do they get?
I don't know. Yeah, I can't say specifics on that, I guess, because I don't know if that's sort of if I don't have the skill tooltip of stuff, then I can't talk specifics on that stuff because I don't know how finalized it was.
Okay.
It's not worth talking about specifics on things that might not be finalized for obvious reasons. People freak out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that seems like fun and kind of the most its own playstyle feeling of all of them. In terms of that feels like a different build. Playing a Val double striker is a different build. You feel like a flashy ninja with a bunch of clones of yourself, flashy ninjaing around. That's cool.
I honestly think this could be like Vol double strike seems like one of those potential Vol skills that a lot of melee builds will use, especially two-hand melee builds. Right? If you have a really nice clear speed, like Earthquaker or whatever it is you have, your ground slam. Don't use Vol ground slam on that. Use Vol double strike. No, I'm not even kidding. It's gonna be like if you can have like a very mediocre amount of damage and you just kind of like pop the entire screen, then whenever anything like dangerous comes along, you click Vol double strike.
I don't know if they drew aggro or not, though. If that's what you're thinking.
No. I'm thinking it kills it.
Just damage.
Yeah.
Just fair
like,
enough.
You have like these. You have like 4 of your own minions just double striking, doing like
That's
3 times as much damage as you can do with your main skill. It's crazy.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I'm trying to remember.
And you can even recharge it. Can you recharge with other skills? Do we know? Can you like not use double strike, and it still recharges the double strike if that's your only? Like, let's say you have a Vol double strike, but you never actually use it, and you just, I don't know, use Cyclone.
I mean, you don't have to get the kills with double strike to get the souls for Val double strike.
Exactly. So what about with the hits on the boss? Is that the same thing? It just because you can recharge right off a boss.
Yeah, it's just. I think it's just. I don't know how they coded it exactly, but it seemed to me it's kind of like a every 10% of life they just give out some souls.
Oh, so it's like on their life pool.
I think so. I assume so. I didn't actually ask what the specific mechanics of it was, but that's what it seems like.
Oh, okay.
The thing I don't know about so much though is how the cooldown system works if you're using multiple Val skills. So there's a cooldown when you use a Val skill where you don't get your souls for a while. And I don't know if that affects other Val skills. Like, let's say you pop a Val haste, whether then you stop getting souls for both Val haste and your Val double strike, for example, if you're using 2 of them. Like, I don't know if it'll be worth running multiple Val skills on a build, or whether that would be a detriment.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not it is. You're probably going to be... Oh, yeah, go.
I keep seeing this comment, so it's a very good idea for me just to answer this one. Firstly, I don't know anything about Val Earthquake. It wasn't finished when I was there, so sorry guys, can't talk about that one. But Beck says I can, and now people are going to be disappointed because I can't, because I actually don't know.
Oh no.
The thing I keep seeing though is people are like, oh, it seemed like the recharge was really slow on the boss. People are referring to, I know what they're referring to. There's a specific piece of footage at the start of my video. Where I talk about
video?
Val skills. Where
the Val skills video.
I did a Val skill.
Okay.
I popped my Val double strikes and absolutely just shredded the boss. Like the boss was almost dead. And then they're like, you didn't even get a full charge of your Val skills in that fight. And the reason specifically why that is because there's a cooldown after you use your Val skills. So the fact that I did so much DPS that the boss was almost dead with my Val skill meant that I didn't get another full recharge because it was still on cooldown and the boss was almost dead. So there wasn't much life to give it. The souls basically go into the air and they don't go anywhere because you're on cooldown. So this whole thing that like, oh, it doesn't seem like the boss recharge is very good, is because my DPS was high, right? If your DPS is low, then you're in the fight and you pop it. Maybe you deal 9% of the health with your Val skill, and then you get to that next threshold or whatever, and you get some souls, and you do that a couple of times. Then you get to use your skill several times throughout the fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, the less DPS you do, the more times you'll be able to use the fight throughout the fight up to a point, basically. But yes, it's just because I killed the boss too quick. Sorry.
I'm really looking forward to seeing... That
double striker was nutty. It had really good gear too.
So having just done Uber Elder this league, I think that's something I'm like curious to see how if that's gonna like change how we approach the Uber Elder fight, whether or not there's gonna be, because there's ad phases in there as well, right? Where you can like charge up, and then you can like pop on the boss again.
I don't know if ads give souls or not.
Oh, within those fights?
So. Huh. Yeah, I think most ads and bosses don't count as an actual thing. They just are there for fast charges and stuff.
Okay, so I know that on Izaro, the ads from the portals do not give flash charges, but the ads he spawns will give you flash charges. I don't know, do they give you souls as well?
I think only like the skeleton captains and columns and stuff would, if anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so they give flash charges but not souls. Okay. Okay, so that would only be tied to the boss health then. Okay.
As it's just there for flash charges or added challenge mostly. One-hit effects.
I do wonder then, because if the let's say that depending on how this Vol skill system works, like if you want to like do an Uber kill, if it's tied to the health of the monster, that's gonna be tough, right? In terms of like how many times can you actually use your Vol skill? I guess if you do enough damage.
I mean, it's not like your Vol skills are going to be carrying you through the fight. You'll get a couple uses of your Vol skill in boss fights where you got none before. It's not like, I don't think this is like the biggest change, but it's a nice change.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to change bossing strategy too much. It's just like you might get an extra Vol haste or two throughout fighting Shaper, or an extra couple of Vol double strikes in the fight, that sort of thing.
Okay.
That's good, but this is not going to be a game.
You can't actually make a Vol skiller where you just kind of like sit there and charge up and then go in. Yeah.
No, I don't think there's going to be any like meaningful way to game the system here, unless maybe we'll see people with very strong setups, basically just killing with the Vol skill. Sure, like a well-geared double striker might just pop their ads and then do the first Shaper encounter before that expires, for example.
There will be like windows of opportunity
though. That's
though.
How it is now.
Yeah, you will have those nice windows of opportunity though.
Yeah, and that's cool. I like the idea that you could get a Vol haste ready.
Vol haste
throughout the fight.
Man, well, whatever. Vol impurities.
Yeah, it's Vol
Vol double strikes.
And then while Shaper's doing his beam, you're like, pop that shit. And you have to think about that in the fight, which is cool.
This is going to be a big changer for supports as well. I know that that's more of a niche thing that people play, but you won't have these spammy supports anymore. And you won't have permanent Vol Grace. Like for grouping, this is actually a big deal. Because now you have to have way more coordination if you want to have permanent Vol Haste, Vol Grace.
Oh, alternation action.
Yeah. More players is not actually a good... You might always need two supports now. And then they communicate, I am popping Vol Grace. Now I am pop... Vol Grace down, you pop. Okay.
Alright.
Yeah. I like that. That's kind of cool. I like that it's not just spam anymore. Okay.
Slightly less degenerate. Very good.
But since Vol skills have cooldowns, right? Should movement skills have cooldowns?
Whoa, he said it. So we talked about this briefly last night, and I said, what did I say? I said that potentially this is a microcosm or a small working model for how they could potentially approach movement skills.
Elaborate.
You take and you give. You take and you give, right? So in this case with Vol skills, they took away a bit by adding a cooldown and taking away a couple builds with like Vol Spark, Vol Fireball builds, and then they gave a lot. Like they added a lot of new tactical stuff. They added a lot of power. They added a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
With movement skills, you have to give a lot more than you take, I think. I was talking to Chris and he was saying how you basically just can't go backwards when it comes to movement skills. You gotta... And I think I was talking to the last Epoch devs as well, making a new action RPG, if you guys haven't seen that. I was talking to them about how they're approaching movement skills as well, because it's a really interesting topic, because you get like one chance to set the bar for movement skills. Like whether they have a cooldown or some other restrictive factor. I mean, can you go backwards, dude? Can you really go backwards? Like in any substantial way?
I mean, if the bar is that you get stuck on everything, and whenever you get too much attack speed at the double whirls, and you end up at the same place where you stop. Like, there's a lot of things that are not... Like, this idea that movement skills are perfect and the only way forward is more speed, like, that's the only improvement. I strongly disagree with that notion. I think movement skills, a lot of them suck right now. They are not fun to play. It's spammy as all hell, and the moment you lag or there's any kind of bad map layout, they feel terrible, and it's more frustration.
Yeah. I mean, I'd absolutely agree with that. The movement skills that are good are often the worst to play. Like, they feel gross. Like, shield charges, I hate playing shield charge. I hate playing whirling blades. Like, unless you got ridiculous attack speed, then it feels kind of nice. But yeah, I hate using them, and I hate that they're so good. The best feeling is like blink arrow, funnily enough. I feel like blink arrow is like the best movement skill from a design standpoint. It has a good range, it jumps over everything, and it has like an interesting utility mechanic in terms of it leaves a clone that you can use to distract a boss. That feels the most clever, most interesting movement skill. It's awesomely designed, but it's not in any way competitive with. It's literally just that bows don't have any other options.
Yeah.
The only reason it gets used.
Well, they use Queen of the Forest and Blinker, right? It's like a combo you do.
Yeah, you just movements. But how much better does movement speed blink arrow on a bow character feel than a shield charge build? Like, that movement speed is the best movement skill in Path of Exile. High movement speed.
Why,
with like a cooldown jump skill or something, that's the way to go.
I think that's also. I think that ties into what do you call it? It ties into the fact that it doesn't get stuck. There's no point of like where, because shield charge doesn't have some kind of like smart pathing like movements. Like, movements will just use the netcone and path you this way. Shield charge just you go in a straight line and end.
And you get stuck on everything.
Yeah. What if shield charge had pathing? Could you then make it slower?
That would be cool. Well, here's my question though, because I 100% agree with you that these skills can be improved dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, what do you take away if that's like your end game is to stop us just spamming move skills at max ridiculous speeds all day, which is quite harmful for the game potentially when it gets to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you take away? So what do you take away from shield charge? You say slow it down, but how? How would you shut it down? So let's say shield charge became a lot better to use it, path around shit, like you say, which would be awesome. What would you take away?
Maybe some of the attack speed scaling.
So just slow it down a bit. Yeah,
it's really tough because I think you can have one kind of scaling on there. That's fine. You could have it. You can add like a function to it where there is where you can close to shield charge at the same speed, but you would have some other mechanic to it. I'm not a big fan of diminishing returns. I think that's weird.
Agreed.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about that a lot.
There's enough confusing shit in PoE with that random diminishing returns.
Yeah, and I'm not because Chris made a good point on Bay Class last time, where he talked about progression as well. And it's nice to go from feeling sluggish to feeling really fast. But how fast is fast enough? I don't think anyone at this point really complains about Queen of the Forest. I don't think I'm kind of searching for everyone saying, oh, Queen of Forest sucks now because there's a cap of, how much is it? Movement speed you can get like 45% or something. And it's like, but people were barely getting to that threshold in most cases anyways. So there's, 100. Oh no, 75, right? Because it's like 100 then minus the 25, so 75, right?
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what you need. And then there are other ways of like increasing that a little bit, right? You still have your blink arrow or your dash over things, and that's fine.
Not everyone could use Queen of the Forest though.
Like, do you give them like so do you give them pathing and then you give like an effect after you're done?
Like, I think adding interesting utility mechanics to them certainly helps the situation. As well as, improving the quality of life aspect. Like, if Whirling Blades jumped over stuff, for example, then you could certainly tone it down a bit in terms of speed, and it would be real nice to use.
I wonder if you could make it so that you would have charges for jumping over, making like, I don't know. If you gave it a charge and you allowed it to jump or fly, or I don't know, gave it pathing. maybe say whirling blades, you keep the speed, you let it pass, but then you have to whirl through something. But is that annoying? Is that too? Yeah. So
that's too annoying. Yeah,
that too
movement
annoying?
skills that you have to target a monster. That's too annoying though. That's like this is such a hard thing to do. Like
Yeah, you're probably
yeah,
right.
you can slow things down slightly, and maybe that's all they can really do. But you can't go too far on this.
No,
it's just,
yeah, you're probably right.
Like,
With that as
the
charge
Marvel
system
Heroes
is probably
example
better.
that Chris mentioned was pretty good. They redid the game in terms of movement skills because everyone was just like going boom, 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 boom around maps like crazy. So they put all the cool movement skills on cooldowns or something like that, and it was just like the worst thing. Everybody was so unhappy with it. It's hard to do, man. It's tough.
I do think though that if you make them more like if you give them pathing or something like that where you feel like you never miss, you never hit a boulder or a pebble, then you can. I think at that point you can take some of their speed away, make them scale less with attack speed.
Yeah.
I think that in itself would be a big improvement. Like I'm not talking about making it you're
more fun too.
unable, because I think people get very defensive very fast when it comes to this stuff. Right? It's the same thing with ball skills, right? The only way forward is to don't touch my ball skill. I want to spam. If I play PoE, I decide how to play. And if I want to click ball every 2 seconds, then I'm allowed to do that. You can't take away my playstyle or my fun. And I think that's just kind of ridiculous, right? Because now we have a new ball system. I think that's way better than the one we had before.
Yep, net positive. Net positive. Yeah. I mean, I think, just making them more fun. Like, you can take away a bit of raw speed. Like, I guess, like, here's the thing, right? They're kind of not fun, and the ones that are really, like, popular for power right now, or speed, are often not fun. Like, shield charge is not that fun to use. It's only, like, what keeps it tolerable is just the fact that it's fast. So, if you can make stuff fun, then it can be a lot slower, and that still feels good.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't you be? Because the reason why movement skills even came into existence and the way they're played right now is because they removed desync. And that was the time where they needed to like address. I think that was the time. If they had a time to address them, probably. I know it's like impossible to, because then they would have to have the foresight to see exactly what would happen, which is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't fault them for it, but just in the sense of when should it have been addressed, if ever, that was probably the time.
So what you're saying is bring desync back to fix
No.
Got it.
I'm saying add something nice and then rework them a little bit, because you're gonna have a net game as a player. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Nah, I agree with you, man.
There's one thing I want though.
That way.
What about Flame Dash right now? Should it have, or in general, should we have a like cooldown recovery gem that works on like Blink Arrow, Flame Dash, more generic cooldown?
Answer. I think that's a very boring answer. But at the same time, Lightning Warp actually has that answer, and Lightning Warp feels pretty good to play.
Yeah,
and you have decent cast speed with the reduced cooldown and everything. It's actually a pretty good skill, pretty good move.
Should we have cast speed to reduce cooldown? Flame Dash. Should we have, if you use double wand, you get a multiplier for your mobility skill? Like say Flame Dash. If you double wand, then you can Flame Dash faster.
I think it should have a way to increase its range.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that'd be more interesting way of doing it.
Okay.
It's pretty short range. It's like just slightly too short to the point where it feels awkward. But if you leave it as it is for leveling, and then you give something that you can scale to make it go further, then that feels good. You get that sense of progression. You're like later on, you feel like, oh, this feels good. You get like Lightning Warp ranged Flame Dashes. That could be kind of fun. Because
you talked about, right, you mentioned GMP and that playstyle to be like a generate way of like a mechanic, right? So that was your sentiment on like the shotgunning thing, and I feel like it's the same for movement skills right now. When you get to a certain level,
okay,
right? Because that it's
all right.
Right, so I don't know. I feel like if GMP was that bad, then movement skills are at the same space right now, or at least some of them are. And you're so locked into having to have this, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
You don't? Okay.
Not as bad as shotgunning was for the general meta game. I don't feel like a massive idiot for using Lightning Warp. I'm like, yo, this feels better. Deal with it.
Yeah, Lightning Warp is okay. That's okay. Man, I want to have like I want to go into my think box and just have like a yeah.
Just like get like a deep immersion.
It's tough. It's tough to like, because like there's so much thought that has to go into this, right? Yeah. To find the right solution. And just sitting here and kind of spitballing for like a few, like 20 minutes, it's not really gonna find that solution. Because if it was that easy, because I'm not saying that it's easy and I have all the solutions, right?
No, this is a really tough one.
Yeah.
That's what I think the whole
because
thing
then GDG would have had that already. They would have thought if it was that easy. This will be the sort of thing
where like, yeah, and this will be the sort of thing in the office where there's like 30 people roughly on the team that have a say in this.
Yeah.
Probably more. Maybe this is the sort of topic where all of the 100 people in the staff have a say on this. And,
yeah, exactly.
And it's like someone begins to bring in stuff, bringing topics up, and another 20 people from the other side of the office are like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. It's like, you change some of the mechanic, you change how Cold Snap works, and maybe one guy is like, maybe you should do it a little differently. Yeah. But movement skills, it starts like a big GGG in fight, probably like table tennis in the break room.
I'll say this though, on the movement skills, I think there's going to be I would assume there would be a small change to this already coming in at some point. And that it's specifically tied to Leap Slam. Because I think if anything, Leap Slam like wins on the early game stuff. And I think that's the dual wield. And they've already talked about addressing dual wield stat sticking and having things, because Leap Slam right now only takes the main hand, right? And scales completely off that, but gets the dual wield bonus. So if that was not a thing anymore, that would already put a big it would make all the early skills a lot closer once that happens. Or if that happens, like we'll see, because that is taking away from a specific movement skill playstyle if they do that. If anything changes there,
dude, I'm still salty about the range nerf to Leap Slam. I still can't get used to the range of Leap Slam as it is now. Every time I use it, it feels just like slightly too short. Like it's just slightly not long enough.
No, I agree.
I still, it's been years and I still miss the old Leap Slam range.
Okay. I'll give you more range.
Yeah.
I'll give you more range if you give me less speed.
Okay. Deal.
Nice.
I would rather like sail over goatmen's heads than to go bump 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 awkwardly and like try and make a gap, but you can't jump it. It's like I can totally jump that.
I meant to was like, no
sometimes
thanks.
You can, sometimes you can't, depending on the angle. And like, isn't the range different depending on which direction you're going as well? There's like some weird shit like that going on as well. It's like better to jump diagonal or something.
Yeah. Oh, it is, because it just takes you further. It is a little bit better going diagonally. Yeah. No, it's pretty awkward. I think the worst is when you're going straight up. That just feels like you're not moving at all sometimes.
Yep.
Well, I think we'll put the movement skill thing to rest, because we could. It's like an endless discussion, right? We can keep going on and on and on, and everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion on movement skills.
Like I said, literally like Civil War, Infinity War, whatever going on in the GGG office over movement skill changes probably.
Oh, I'm glad I don't have to put in the final say here on that specific subject.
No, I don't think there needs to be one.
Well, not doing anything is also a final say on it, right? There's always a final say, right? Doing nothing is...
you mean like the final say of what actually happens?
Yeah.
We get to criticize all we want. We don't get to
Yes.
for anything.
Yeah.
Except when Rory throws me into the bus for flame totem nerfs and stuff.
Oh no.
Yes. I'll probably get the blame for something that happens in Incursion because I was there for 5 days and play testing it. I may have brought some things to the developers' attention, but it's just because I was literally there playing, having my first impressions, and they saw that.
Wait, you nerfed? You got something nerfed? That's terrible.
Before it even released.
God damn it.
You can't nerf something if it isn't out yet.
Thanks, Ziggy.
If there's one minor wrong thing with the league that people don't like. You know what? Actually, on that topic,
Okay.
people were raging about how slow the loot comes out of the incursions at the end of the incursion.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is like the thing people are like, oh, I can already tell this is going to be the quality of life thing that I hate.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like, you just pick up the loot while it's happening, guys. It's like one of those things that looks really stupid when you're watching footage, and if you're just standing there watching the loot come out, but what you actually do when you play is you just pick up the loot as it comes out. It's like there's an alk and you go pick up the alk, and then by the time you picked it up, there's something else that you pick it up. You just pick up the loot while it happens. You don't even notice.
what if your filter is really strict, and you get one elk at the start, and then 3 seconds later you get a chaos?
Yeah, that could be annoying. I get it. It's big enough.
Just saying.
It's not as I'm just saying it's not as bad as people think though.
Okay.
Because you're not actually standing there watching the loot come out. That's just what what we do for footage because it looks cool. You're actually just picking up the loot as it's spilling out most of the time. But yeah, you it'll be annoying sometimes, and they could maybe speed it up if possible. Would be nice. I don't disagree with that, but it's not as bad as it looks.
Do you think they should do that? Well, I think we have seen them in the past altering anything that's overly annoying or just bad design. They don't seem to be. I don't know. They seem to be pretty willing to just fix it to make it fun.
Yeah,
like leagues,
I mean,
especially.
people talked about this enough.
Yeah.
Maybe they wait and see if people are actually salty once they play it. And like I said, you're picking up stuff as it's happening, and maybe people don't actually complain that much when it comes out.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just waiting to see.
I wonder if it's actually something that most people complain about, though. If these are the things that is just like a very... I really wonder sometimes whether or not it's just like a small vocal minority that just gets all riled up. Oh, this is not exactly how I want it. And then they get really frustrated.
Dude, like, you could have like every single post on the Reddit front page with, a couple thousand upvotes writing about one specific thing, and that's like 1% of the player base.
Yeah.
It's by definition a vocal minority.
Yeah.
But GGG still take that seriously, and that's cool.
So in terms of like fixing things like later on, what about just giving us more information early on?
Yes, the earlier patch notes.
Yeah.
Question.
Should we have them earlier?
Well, you just can't though. That's the answer though, right? Can you like give them out before they're done? I guess that's not the thing, right?
But what is done? I mean, like when is stuff done? Is it ever done?
I guess. Yeah, I guess what you're saying is like never release patch notes because there will be another patch at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That's weird. That's like a weird logic to apply to that exactly.
I agree with chat right now. Mind blown. What is done? What is video gaming?
No, but I think it's something we as people always get. Like, we also get into this like, oh, I don't want to give you my final say because I haven't made up my mind yet, right? It's like, but like, what is it that they can release? And if they're willing to change things after the release of the game, right? Then that meant that was not done as well, right? So why can't we get like a preliminary patch? Right, so we could get preliminary patch notes, say 5 days before, with some changes that might happen over the next 3 days. If
okay, all right, so that's a bit more fair. Like rather than be like, give me the finished patch notes a week early.
No. That's not what I would say.
Give me some preliminary patch notes. So I would argue that that's what they do through all of these reveals.
Okay.
That's kind of what's happening. These are basically the preliminary patch notes. Maybe it's just up to some aspiring Redditor who wants to farm some karma to like put all this stuff together in one mega post as like unofficial preliminary patch notes. That's what I would say. The other like part is that it takes Chris a fucking long time to do these patch notes.
Yeah.
He sits there for like 2 days just reading this like I don't know if you guys have ever seen like I can't even remember the name. It's called Stack or something like that. The developers use where it has like all their things listed out, the trees and all that stuff. It's like the things that companies use internally for managing this sort of stuff is like more complex than that. And he'll just like going through, checking with people, typing out these patch notes for days on end. Just like not sleeping, just typing and typing patch notes. It takes so long, man. It takes so long to do that. Slack
but then it's not like he has to do that entire process twice. Then it will be revisions to that.
Yeah, possibly.
I get what you're saying though. There's a lot of effort into this, and would we not rather have the effort put into the like making the league good? But then a lot of the times what you see is like whenever patch notes come out, we recognize that some of these things are just not as good as they should be, but I guess that happens all the time.
I get like that people are excited to get the patch notes, but is it really a big deal if they come out a day or two before the league?
Okay, so the argument that I can follow here and is that if you give them like two days before, and this is mostly a convenience thing, but I think that's okay. It's okay to give people convenience. It's something that will make your experience better overall. So you have 2 days, like let's say you get it like Thursday evening, right? So you have summer Thursday evening, and then you have, or when is it? Is it Wednesday it's coming out, or is it Thursday?
It's like Friday morning for me.
Oh, the patch notes?
Oh no, the patch notes.
Yeah, the patch notes. So it's Wednesday US. So you have like summer Wednesday, a bit of Thursday, and then you're done, right? You have like, that's your time. And then that's not a lot of time to take from personal experience. That's not a lot of time to decide on a build, right? To decide on what you want to play. And everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people take off their Friday, Saturday, Sunday to play, right? To play with their friends. And nobody wants to be that guy that doesn't have a finalized build. It's like, hey, wait up, guys. I'm over here, man. Like 2 days is not a long time. There's not a lot of time to reflect or anything. Like a couple extra days is a lot in terms of whether or not you feel ready.
Yeah, I think like it's probably just not super reasonable for them to get the actual patch notes out much earlier.
Okay.
But having like an unofficial preliminary thing just through revealing a lot of shit beforehand seems like the way to go then.
Yeah. Well, we are getting, it's not like we're not getting a lot of information.
Yeah. We got like a shitload of info.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be some hidden gems in the patch notes, and for people that want to like make a last minute idea out of the patch notes that do come out, they'll have the opportunity to do that still. But you should really realistically be able to plan the majority of your build right now. There's nothing really to stop you from doing that. Like, there's some minor changes, potentially to the passive tree, but that's not really gonna like change your build or anything too much. And you already probably know about how the skills are changing that you want to use, so.
Yeah. I'm not really on either the side here, to be fair. Because for me, like, I have plenty of time, right? I've had quite a few people saying this really messes with my getting into the start of the league, and it's really frustrating that every time I have to like wait so long until I can like kind of finalize my decision. For me, I can just spend 24 hours. I can just take half a day off, right? Just sit there. Sure. For me, it's like, for me personally, it's like there's like nothing preventing me, but just for the guys who just come home on Friday after work and they just want to like, yes, play.
Yeah, I super empathize with people who like, are working, won't have time to plan stuff, and then gotta waste some of their time that they're taking off work to plan, which is pretty sucky, but what can they do really?
Yeah.
What can you do? It seems like, just from what I've seen, it seems like it's not really practical to get much out earlier than what they're doing besides reveals and stuff.
And if that's the case, if it's just too impractical and like it reduces the quality of the finished product, I would say we as a community should probably like be a little overbearing with them. Say that it's okay.
I lost it.
Okay.
I had a thought, but I lost it.
Okay.
Oh, wait, yeah. Wouldn't people be more frustrated, though, just as like a last thought, second counter thought, wouldn't people be more frustrated if they put out preliminary patch notes and people planned their builds and then they changed it multiple times and people replanned their builds multiple times? I feel like people would rage. People would be right. I'd be like, I just planned this build, I put all this effort, I spent hours planning this build, and then you made some random change. And people would also see the internal working about like the iterative process and also probably riot over that as well.
I mean, yes and no.
People would start getting angry about stuff that's getting nerfed before it's even released. And that would, like, they have preliminary design of Arc, for example, and then they're like, that's a bit crazy. We better tone it down from that. They're like, no, you nerfed Arc. I'm really angry. I wanted to play that Arc.
But you can apply the same thing. I know it's not as broad, but you could apply the same thing with anything they've released so far that anyone has been able to see, and there's a change to that because that's been released, right? So they showcased how a skill worked, and then it's changed in the patch notes, right? So on that, like, they figured out, oh, they changed it. Like you're never gonna get around that in the end, anyways.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's true.
To lessen that as much as possible is probably a good idea. Yeah.
It's like artists don't want to show their painting before it's finished, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, they want to show people the finished product. Takes away some of the magic, otherwise, maybe.
Yeah.
As well. That might also be a small factor worth considering.
Well, with that out of the way.
Yeah. Was there anything else, man, you wanted to try to ask about?
Yeah, maybe Chad has some questions. Fire away now if you guys have something.
Go for it, chat.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to. I obviously, might not be able to answer some things based on what I've seen or what wasn't finalized when I saw it and so on. Do you want to pull out questions or do you want me to pull out questions?
If you find something good, pull it out. If I see something good, I think I have one here. That's interesting to me, at least. The game is really shitty in terms of being able to control your character in defensive ways. And the game is pretty shitty when it comes to damage trouble that monsters just don't die all the time. Other games to give more of a time to defend yourself and a bit more time to kill hard enemies.
Sum that
on the defensive side, should we have more defensive ways? Like, is that a necessity in PoE, do you think? Because a lot of the defense is, I think it comes down to, we used to have some of this due to flasks, but now the flask seems like flasks nowadays don't really seem as a. I guess it depends on who you are and how you play the game. Because flasks, you can pretty much have them up permanently through a map, right? So they don't have this. Yes. It's not this reactive defensive play that he's probably looking for.
True. Well, I guess I'm not following what the question is.
No, I don't. I thought there was a question. I liked the start of it, and then I just kind of it was more of a bit of a rant. I think he was. Okay, let's just.
Is the question about reactive defenses? Is it?
Well, he's saying. Well, what I'm saying, he's just frustrated that the game has too little ways of controlling the defense you have.
Okay, I mean, I'm always up for more interesting defensive mechanics. Yeah. That's always cool. And in the future, if mobs fight back a little bit more than what they have in recent times, then such things become more meaningful as well.
I mean, we have endurance charges. We have Immortal Call. We have.
Yeah, we definitely have some. Pretty good collection.
Fortify and. Yeah.
That's cool.
No, I think we're pretty good on that.
So one question was asking me about how cast speed affects flamethrower traps DPS. So the 3 Uber traps scale with cast speed in some way, And for Seismic and Lightning Spire Trap, it makes sense because it increases their DPS directly by making them do more things. The Flamethrower Trap is kind of weird. It just makes it spin faster, which you're like, right, that hits more, so it would be more DPS, right? But that's not how it works. So Flamethrower Trap is basically like, consider a mob standing in... It's not like... I don't know if there's anything like it in the game currently. Well, Piety's Beam has a tick rate associated with it. So as you're standing inside of the beam, it goes tick, 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 and deals damage each time that happens. And that's how Flamethrower Trap works. So there's a set tick rate of 10 hits per second is the maximum that it can achieve. If a mob's standing right in the middle of the trap and it's large and it's getting hit by all 4 flames, then it will be getting hit 10 hits per second at the maximum hit rate, right? Because it's always in the flames. And if a mob was following somehow the exact flame as it moved around, they'd be getting hit 10 times per second. So if you increase the cast speed and you throw a trap and the mob's standing there in like an empty space, then the flame gets to the mob faster. So like the DPS starts sooner, but then it passes over it more quickly as well. So the net effect is nothing or negligible in terms of DPS changing because you're both... They're in the flames are getting to the monster faster, but they're also passing over them more quickly, so there's less ticking actually happening.
But you are getting there's a small quality of life by having some cast speed. You're probably not going to want to invest in it, but you're gonna see a difference in just a small difference in terms of, let's say you get frenzy charges. It's gonna feel better when you throw it and you throw it on the pack, and it just kind of like speeds up and kills it a little bit faster.
Yeah, like the immediacy of that first tick of damage for clearing would maybe be slightly noticeable. Like
damage won't really change. Like damage won't change, but consistency.
No.
Very
but
like
small.
The
TLDR is that cast speed does not increase your DPS, it just makes it look fancier.
Yeah.
So it's a flavor stat.
It's the same thing as Scorching Ray. Cast speed doesn't change. Like you can like turn around faster, but it doesn't actually change the DPS. Right. There's still a set amount of like...
That has a practical effect, though.
It's more practical. Like Scorching Ray is probably... You see it a lot more, but it's the same kind of idea.
Right. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question. How good was Ziggy's in Knight character? Were they overleveled? It seems too strong to be real. The character had a 6-link Searing Touch and Tinker Skin. The rest of the rares were just generic rares. The character, when it was first made, had like some real nice Ellie damage rings and stuff like that on it, and like crit damage jewelry. But I took that off and I literally just grabbed some white jewelry and alked it and chaosed it a few times, and got like some life and resist and just whacked those on. So it was pretty standard fare, like good but not amazing, incredible gear. But it was like a level 90 something character, but nothing unrealistic. So if you're looking at like Incinerate footage, that was based on a fairly realistic level of gear, or Fire Trapper, fairly realistic level of gear. Only the Double Striker had obscene gear. Oh, and the bow character, Rain of Arrows.
Will Spreading Rot affect Vault Blight?
I don't know. Good question. Well, there's going to be a lot of I don't knows when people are like, what about Vile Earthquake, Ziggy? And like, don't know. Some of that stuff just either wasn't done or wasn't done enough that I could record footage of, so I didn't bother to look at it. Also, I was there for 5 days and recorded stuff non-stop pretty much, and there's still so much I didn't see. Like, there's so much, as I said, like at the start, granular thing is in this expansion in terms of like skill changes and stuff. Way too much to even look at in a week, in a business week. Crazy.
Do you feel that Incursion might have any issues of quality of life? E.g. orientation within temple, clarity of planning the temple, and maybe temple map being included in the normal minimap?
There's, I think, a slight learning curve with getting your orientation down. It depends on how much you've already gotten familiar with that in terms of like the map and the layout and things like that. How good your orientation already is in PoE will help a bit. But it's all communicated in, I think, the best way possible. Like all the stuff is labeled, and that stuff was even getting improved. Like it wasn't even done when I recorded my footage. So my footage was not finalized. There's actually like much better labeling and communication of that information.
If you had to...
all the doors are labeled and you can see where they're going to be and you can kind of make sense of it. And it's in the same, like on the map that's shown in a 2D plane is the same orientation as the map you're actually in as well. So it all makes sense. Quality of life issues, I think the only one I can think of is like the loot might be coming out of the incursion slightly slow. That seems like the only one, maybe.
What about actually entering? Right, you have to talk to Alva first, right, and enter the incursion and everything. Once you get it down, you're just gonna sit there and kind of like, yeah, come on.
Maybe like there might be a bit too much text box pop-upiness, maybe.
Okay.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
I know.
Annoying over time. Yeah. Something that's really cool initially could well be like the most annoying thing later on.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see anything obvious though. That was
okay.
Otherwise I would have pointed it out. And I did like there was a few things when I first tested it earlier in the week when I was there that I was like, this is kind of seems weird or is kind of annoying.
Oh, that's a good question.
And like no, most of the time they're like, yeah, we're already changing that. Like the blur, for example.
Yeah.
The blur was too strong.
The what?
The blurring screen effect in the incursions.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we were talking about with the. I heard you talking about the post processing, right?
Yeah, turn it on.
Yeah. It's a little.
Turns out,
if you want,
does not have.
Yeah, if anyone wants the full effect of incursion turned off on post processing, it should make it a lot more interesting.
Apparently, there's just so much stuff in the game communicated through post processing that I had no idea about, and I've been playing without for years and missed out on so many things. Like Spirit Beast Signs had an effect, and like the Shaper when he appears and does his map boss thing. There's like entire effects that you just don't see when you have that turned off. So,
interesting.
Yeah. Turn post processing on, guys.
I'll try it out as well.
That was like the one thing the devs would like me to communicate with the community.
Do we have anything else that stands out?
About like quality of life, Amy reminds me that there's like an effect that plays when you first open the layout but it only happens in the early game and it's designed to tutorialize the content. So it's like there's an animation that plays that shows like stuff moving around and shows you what you do. That only plays like in the first act, and it's just there to communicate, to draw your eyes to things, and then that goes away. Seems kind of clever. It's a good way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
Something that you don't need later on, so get rid of the annoying effects.
Yeah.
It's just there, but it's helpful at the start. Yes, it makes lightsaber noises, exactly what I just said.
I think there's so many questions like around the specific skills, and I would say play around with this stuff, guys. Right? Once you get your tabula and you have all your skills, or just even to start with, don't narrow yourself down too much in terms of what you want to play. Have like a little bit of an open mind and just go and like buy the skills and test them out. Right? See if it works.
Like hardcore, just so you can try a bunch of different builds when you die.
An easy way to reset. Easy way to force yourself. Well,
that's it.
With that in mind, just rush the incursions as well. Don't be afraid. Play hardcore and just go in and try everything out.
I'm gonna go hard in those.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that sort of wraps it up then for today.
Yeah, and just so people don't like riot, like most of the questions you guys are asking, chat, just like, what about X specific skill? The answer is either when I was there like 3 weeks ago, it wasn't done, so I couldn't look at it, or I just didn't have time to look at it. So the skills that you will get to see, you'll get to see. Like Lightning Spire Trap, I'm gonna make a video on it soon. So check out that instead.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on Coffee Talk, Nerdy.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
Like a necromancer.
For me. Yeah. No, I thought we could have a nice little discussion, and we did. I really enjoyed it.
It was good fun.
And for those who
disagreements and agreements.
Yeah. And for those who want to watch more Ziggy, he has a new video coming out tomorrow with all the lightning skills, right?
Oh,
or is that today?
Pressure. It's not done yet.
Well,
it'll be done when it's done, but hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, hopefully tomorrow you're gonna see all the cool lightning skills you wanted to hear about today.
I'll do my best. I want to shout out Bex for hanging out in the chat.
Yes.
And answering questions and stuff. Thank you, Bex, for tuning in.
Yeah.
And Trishy as well. I know tuned in and gave some info. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
GG devs.
It's awesome. It's awesome when devs hang out and just like are part of the community. It's something I
Team
definitely
members, not just devs.
appreciate a lot. Yeah, it's great. Okay. Well, where can they find you, Ziggy?
On the internet, you just type ZiggyD. Yay!
Hey!
Nobody uses URLs anymore. Who types URLs these days? You just type ZiggyD YouTube or ZiggyD Twitch, and
Well,
it
we
comes
do.
up.
We
I
do
make
have
sure so.
we do have a podcast right here, and we do have a site for people who mainly listen to the podcast, so they might not know exactly who you are and where to find you and what you do, other than you're some guy named ZiggyD. So.
Nice.
Right, and you can find the Coffee Talk podcast on thecoffeetalkpodcast.com and on my YouTube channel called Nugiyen. It's pretty easy. And with that, thanks for hanging out, Ziggy. It was great.
My pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me, guys. It was good fun. Thanks for being a good chat, viewers.
And that's it. See you guys next time. Next time will probably be with M to the O to the RS, Mr. Morse, where there's probably going to be more Tencent discussion, and yeah, look forward to that. I don't have an exact date for that just yet, so yeah, I'll tweet it out and let you guys know, and we'll see. Until next time. Bye.